Chapter 358. Squeak. La la la. The melody was gentle and moving, and the sound was pure and clear. More and more millennium snappers appeared. They hid in the flames and didn't dodge at all. Suddenly, a loud noise came from the tree. Immediately afterward, the giant flame tree bloomed like fireworks, and countless flames, like twinkling stars in the sky, suddenly covered the entire sea area above their heads. Looking at the countless flames above her head, Yang Ruoyun burst into tears and looked very pious. Han Fei was dumbfounded. Han Fei, on the other hand, found it weird. The flames were falling, overwhelming and unavoidable. Han Fei. Suddenly, Han Fei's expression changed, and he quickly rushed forward. The next moment, a long sword had cut the place where he had just stood. In front of Han Fei there were 7 people. The leader was a young man, older than him, no more than 20 years old, with the strength of a peak-level dangling fisher. Han Fei looked at the people behind him, and couldn't help cursing. How many people did these bastards send? Didn't the super torpedo that he and Master Hexagon Starfish set up kill them? The young man held the sword with one hand. On the sword, cold air was pressing, and a water-shaped green python was coiling around the sword. My name is Sun Mu. You are qualified to know my name. After I kill you, I will bury you under this big red trunk. It's a very good grave. Sun Mu said to Han Fei with a smile, and then looked up at the sky. Look, how beautiful it is. Others can't get it, but you can always accompany them. Han Fei grabbed 2 blue sea wandering dragon daggers and looked at Sun Mu coldly. Thank you for your kindness, but I think the scenery here seems more suitable for you. If you die, I will bury you here. How about that? Although he said so, Han Fei's face was extremely gloomy. According to his estimation, there shouldn't be so many people here. Could it be that none of these people were killed in places like the Seaweed City Wall? Did all of them come here? Han Fei said to the Hexagon Starfish via voice transmission, Master Hexagon Starfish, do you have any arrays? Set up a few hundred of them to help me stop these people, okay? The Hexagon Starfish naturally realized that it was not good. Although it wanted to escape, Han Fei obviously wouldn't allow it. The Hexagon Starfish said, How can I set up arrays so quickly? Why don't you hold on a little longer, or hide a little longer? In a while, the fruit will come out. Speechless, Han Fei cursed telepathically, Look at the time. Fruit? I'm about to lose my life, so how many fart fruits do I want? Han Fei ran away. At this time, he didn't care whether Xiao Jin would be exposed or not. Didn't Yang Ruoyun say so? Everyone here today had no memory of what had happened. Since that was the case, he was not afraid of being exposed. With a swish, Han Fei jumped out. He spread his wings and rushed into the leaves of the big red tree. This was the safest way that Han Fei could think of. At this moment, the leaves and the Millennium Snappers didn't seem to be attacking people. If that was the case, he might be able to hide in the leaves for a while. Seeing Han Fei's move, everyone here was stunned. Is he an idiot? Running up a tree? How did you even think of that? Sun Mu stopped in his tracks. He looked at the person beside him and said, You go. The man's face turned green. Just me? Although the big red trunk didn't seem dangerous, who knew if there was any danger in the lush leaves? The man sighed slightly. Just go. The order has been given. I have to go even if I have to die. With a swish, he also disappeared into the leaves. Rushing into the red leaves, Han Fei suddenly felt the billowing heat waves coming at him. His spiritual energy protective cover was directly burned to pieces. In just a few seconds it was burned to pieces again. But Han Fei didn't care and kept rushing up. When he rushed to a height of 100 meters, he found a random tree trunk and stopped. And on the surface of his body, a layer of red leaves had already covered him. These red leaves were burning into fire, which was extremely hot, making Han Fei completely turn into a man of fire at this moment. Han Fei's scalp went numb when he was burned. He seemed to feel the burning of the fish fire again. Even the degree of heat here was stronger than that of the fish fire. The skin on his body was shattering, his clothes had already been burned, and his hair couldn't resist the scorching fire. He became bald again. However, as Han Fei thought, no Millennium Snapper came to stop him. The big red trunk didn't seem to care about him and let him sit here. The man who chased after him, after entering the forest, ended up even worse than Han Fei. His spiritual energy protective cover, clothes, and hair were all burned in a few seconds. If it weren't for the cold stone in his hand, he would have been burned to death at this moment. Even so, the stone was losing its luster at a speed visible to the naked eye. After this man came in, he looked around, only to find that there was red everywhere. How could he find Han Fei? No, hurry up and go out. I'll just say that I lost him. The man quickly retreated. However, just as he was about to run out, he discovered that there was an invisible barrier blocking his way. No, let me out. The man was shocked. He didn't expect that there was a seal on this tree. Young master, help me. Outside, the faces of Sun Mu and the others suddenly changed. They also found the seal, and the figure of the man almost appeared. But he failed to walk out of the red leaves several times. Han Fei was a little stunned. Why is there still a seal? Sun Mu said to the people around him, "Attack together." The 6 of them attacked with all their strength. With a loud bang, a huge wave of fire spread out in the water. However, the seal was not damaged at all. Sun Mu's face darkened. He wanted the sea token, but if Han Fei was trapped on the tree, wouldn't this sea token have to stay on the tree forever? Just when Sun Mu and the others looked gloomy, Yang Ruoyun not far away said lightly, "It's useless." During the Millennium Snapper's chanting, this big red trunk is a fire array, which can't be broken by external forces. A member of the Sun family suddenly grabbed Yang Ruoyun's neck with one hand. "Tell me, how can we get Han Fei out?" The corners of Yang Ruoyun's mouth curled up. "When the chanting is over, it'll be fine." Sun Mu looked at Yang Ruoyun, his eyes frightening. "How long will it take?" Yang Ruoyun replied lightly, "About an hour." When everyone heard that, they couldn't help but be shocked. Stay in this fire array for an hour? Didn't you see our people calling for help when they went in for 10 minutes? 2 hours? He must have been burned to death. Sure enough, the breath of the Sun family member who was calling for help was getting weaker and weaker. He knew that everyone had tried to save him just now, but unfortunately, it didn't work. So he turned around and went to find Han Fei. Even if he died, at least he would die a worthy death. However, at this moment, Han Fei was resisting the flames with all his strength. The indestructible body was devouring energy crazily. The spiritual energy in his body was also being consumed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Most importantly, Han Fei found that his spiritual perception was useless. He couldn't even perceive people half a meter away. F***ck, if I had known this would happen, I would have tricked Master Hexagon into saving some spiritual energy. Now, it's not necessarily enough. Han Fei was also a little anxious. He had less than 1,000,000 points of spiritual energy in total. Before, he had thrown 50,000 points of spiritual energy to set up the array, and now he only had about 900,000 points left. He had to save them. After a while, Han Fei's scalp was numb, and his skin had been burned through several times. About 5 minutes later, Han Fei heard someone scream not far away from him. Someone else came in? Han Fei grinned. It would be great if the Sun family had all come in. Without the cruel body refining technique like the indestructible body, it would be hard for him to stay alive unless he consumed millions of points of spiritual energy. The reason why Han Fei dared to rush in was that his physique was unparalleled, and the indestructible body was enough to bear the power of the flames. Who would have thought that someone would really follow him in? Han Fei couldn't laugh anymore. Another new part of his skin was torn apart. Fortunately, no one else saw it, or their eyes would have popped out of their sockets. At this moment, Han Fei was burned like a porcelain doll full of cracks. It seemed that he would be broken with a poke of a finger. Half an hour later, Han Fei's face became extremely gloomy. The flames were stronger than he expected. The cultivation speed of the indestructible body was extremely fast. In just a short while, he had refined the fish fire for half a day. Nearly 300,000 points of spiritual energy were used to repair his body. But Han Fei didn't stop cultivating. He seemed to feel a bottleneck related to his physique. For a long time, the indestructible body seemed to be blocked by an invisible barrier. As a result, although his physique was strong, it was not as ridiculously strong as Ren Tianfen's. This time, he really felt this threshold, which seemed to be his own limit. Last time, after the fish fire of the fiery mountain was refined, because of his realm, strength, and internal energy, his physique seemed to be stronger, but in fact it was still far from it. After a year of slowly refining and absorbing, his physique just reached a peak. But today this peak state was broken again. An hour passed. Han Fei's skin, flesh, and bones showed a glimmer of crystal luster. Han Fei was hesitating. He had consumed almost 600,000 points of spiritual energy, but he felt that he was still a little bit short. Just a little bit and he would be able to enter a new realm of physique. But at this moment, Han Fei felt that the temperature of his body's surface was dropping, and the raging flames suddenly became small. Why is it gone? Come on. I'm about to make a breakthrough. Han Fei almost spat out a mouthful of blood. He felt that he might break through a state of physical limit at any time, but suddenly, because the fire became smaller, this feeling disappeared. Isn't it annoying? At this moment, an arrow was shot at Han Fei's face. Chapter 359. The moment he saw this arrow, Han Fei knew that it was no longer safe. The seal seemed to be gone. The flame was pierced through by this arrow, and Han Fei's face changed slightly. Before he moved, the water-dividing seal had already been shot out. Han Fei was pushed back by the arrow, and his arm felt slightly uncomfortable. He felt that his strength seemed to have increased by thousands of kilograms, and his body was firmer. Theoretically speaking, at this moment, his body should have surpassed the so-called peak-level dangling fishers. Old Jiang once said that fighting depended on whose fist was bigger and harder. Han Fei thought that it shouldn't be difficult for him to kill an advanced dangling fisher with his current fist. However, the barrier of the indestructible body art was still not broken. Come out. Han Fei received the hexagon starfish's message, and his face changed slightly. Go out now? Do you want me to be hacked to death? Han Fei asked. Master Hexagon, what's going on outside? The hexagon starfish muttered. 2 more groups of people are coming. Han Fei put on a set of clothes and then poked his head out of the leaf. In the next moment, an arrow was shot at him. However, when the arrow was still 100 meters away from Han Fei saw a woman holding a sword with one hand and smashing the arrow with a sword. Then, a young man of 17 or 18 years old appeared in Han Fei's field of vision with 2 black crystal axes. The young man smiled and said, Sun Mu, is this the person your Sun family is looking for? Han Fei said, Master Hexagon, where are you? Who is this? Han Fei glanced at a red leaf next to his head, and on it, a hexagon starfish smaller than a palm was staring at him with its 6 big eyes. I just came. I seem to have a conflict with the people who chased you. Han Fei was speechless. Master Hexagon, when did you come to my side? The hexagon starfish climbed to Han Fei's shoulder and said, I was afraid that they would beat me. So, I got in too. Han Fei. The young man with the axes looked at Han Fei and said with a smile, Are you Han Fei? I heard that you got the sea token? The woman with the sword also turned her head, looked at Han Fei and said with a smile, The Sun family made such a big fuss to find you. Otherwise we would still be kept in the dark. Han Fei asked timidly, Who are you? The woman blinked and said, Of course, he's also from the Thousand-Star City. Why don't you give me the sea token and I'll give myself to you? Immediately, Han Fei shivered. Isn't this too straightforward? Could the sea token be used like this? The young man with the axe said, Mo Fian, can't you find a man? Why did you have to find a country bumpkin? Mo Fian giggled. Yang Diu, she is much more promising than you. He killed many peak-level dangling fishers of the Sun family on his own. His strength is really not low, he is a talent. Sun Mu walked over step by step, glanced at the two of them coldly and said, Mo Fian, Yang Diu, are you going to oppose the Sun family? Ah! Yang Diu laughed heartily. He pointed the black crystal axe at Sun Mu and said, Is it the first time I've been going against your Sun family? The sea token belongs to the Fated One. The Sun family wants to monopolize it? Have you asked for the permission of the double axes in my hands? Mo Fian also smiled. Sun Mu, you think too highly of yourself. I heard that the Sun family failed to hunt us twice, and now you don't allow us to come here? With that, the girl turned to look at Han Fei and said with a smile, My proposal will always stand. You are also very beautiful. You've made a fortune. Han Fei felt goosebumps all over his body. This woman was beautiful, but he couldn't stand her when she talked. Unlike Xia Xiaochan would occasionally act cute, but she wasn't good at it. Deep down, she was still a violent woman. But the woman in front of him was different. She was really seductive. Han Fei stretched out a hand and said, Hey, beauty, do you want the sea token? Sure. Help me kill that Sun. Sun Mu, right? Help me kill Sun Mu, and I will give you the sea token. Mo Fian smiled sweetly. Then give it to me first, and then I will help you kill him. Coincidentally, if you give it to me, you'll be able to divert the trouble to someone else, and no one will continue to cause trouble for you. What do you think? Seeing that his little trick didn't work, Han Fei couldn't help but smile. No, why don't you come in and take it? Okay. To Han Fei's surprise, none of Mo Fian, Sun Mu, and Yang Diu were ready to take action. They all looked at Han Fei with a smile. At that time, Han Fei only felt that something was wrong. Attach. 9-star chain. Han Fei thought he was stalling for time, but he didn't expect that the other party was also stalling for time. A weird big net pounced at him from behind. Han Fei recognized it. It was a net woven by the spirit forbidden rope. When he was in the fiery mountain, Sun Yi caught Luo Xiaobai with a spirit forbidden rope. He still had one in Forge the Universe. He hadn't used it before, and he didn't expect to encounter it again today. At this moment, these people had secretly arranged for people to attack from behind, trying to hunt him. The 9-star chain was inserted into the ground and instantly pulled back. In an instant, Han Fei rushed out. But immediately afterward, Sun Mu, Mo Fian, and Yang Diu surrounded him. F*CK, let's die together. Swish, 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 3 blue sea wandering dragon daggers instantly shot at these 3 people. Explode, in an instant, the 3 people's faces changed drastically and they all retreated. At that moment, the 3 of them each showed their skills. An ice shield appeared in front of Sun Mu, Mo Fian turned into smoke and disappeared, Yang Diu held his double axes in front of his chest, and a turtle was attached to his body. BM, Han Fei was even more ferocious. He rushed in Mo Fian's direction and was blasted by his own blue sea wandering dragon daggers. The fragments of the daggers sank into his body, and his arms and abdomen were bleeding. With a burst of spiritual energy, the fragments were shaken out of Han Fei's body, and he sprayed the divine healing technique on himself. Sun Mu shouted coldly, Let's see how many more spiritual weapons you can explode. Han Fei didn't say a word and swam straight up. Mo Fian appeared, her face a little pale. Looking at Han Fei, who was swimming up quickly, she couldn't help but frown slightly. What a domineering man! He even blew himself up. But, is he rushing to the Millennium Snappers? Yang Diu spat. I didn't expect that I would forget what happened here today. Otherwise, the three of us joined forces and even used the spirit forbidden net, but he still escaped. I can't afford to lose face. Han Fei felt his heart bleeding. 3 spiritual weapons exploded in the blink of an eye. These damn guys, I must make them pay double in the future. Otherwise, he felt that he couldn't get over this hurdle in his heart. Don't go up. The fruit is coming soon. Those fish are very fierce. The hexagon starfish emerged from Han Fei's shoulder and reminded him. Han Fei had swum more than 500 meters high and was only a few hundred meters away from the Millennium Snappers. Behind him, 5 peak-level dangling fishers were chasing him. How could he stop? Humph, Master Hexagon Starfish, hold on tight. Oh, when he was hundreds of meters away from the Millennium Snappers, Han Fei opened his hand and the blue sea wandering dragon bow appeared. Swish, an arrow containing thousands of points of spiritual energy shot directly into the Millennium Snappers and exploded. Behind him, the 5 people chasing Han Fei all changed their expressions. This is AF** King Lunatic. They were just going to drive Han Fei into the Millennium Snappers. Who would have thought that this guy would take the initiative to attack them? Squeak! The Millennium Snappers' singing suddenly stopped. The interruption of their singing seemed to arouse the ferocity of these Millennium Snappers. Squeak, squeak, accompanied by the gazes of thousands of Millennium Snappers, those red sword leaves moved. In an instant, thousands of sword leaves swept over overwhelmingly. Han Fei's eyelids twitched, and he immediately turned around and ran back. The 5 people who had been chasing Han Fei turned back faster than Han Fei. At the moment when Han Fei attacked the Millennium Snappers, they had already turned around and ran. However, the range of this big red trunk was only so large. Where could they run? Han Fei turned around and shot another arrow, still at the Millennium Snappers. In midair, Han Fei said to everyone via voice transmission, "Come on, come on! Weren't you very powerful just now? Come and kill me now!" Sun Mu and the others all changed their expressions. Han Fei, this lunatic, actually took the initiative to provoke a war? At this moment, his whole body was almost covered by the sword leaves, and everyone could still hear the clanking sound. Han Fei spread his wings, and with a sky full of red leaves, he charged at a peak-level dangling fisher of the Sun family. The man felt his blood freeze. There are so many people. Why didn't you chase them? Why did you just target me? At this moment, on the big red trunk's side, all the other people who came in on their own were speechless. Are these people crazy? We're here to look for opportunities. Do you have to fight to the death? Han Fei's speed was extremely fast. After spreading his wings, he was even faster than the average peak-level dangling fisher. Just as he was about to grab a person, that person actually disappeared with a whoosh. F***ck, Han Fei was speechless. It seemed that it was really not easy to kill a peak-level dangling fisher. That person could easily crush a flash stone and run away. But Han Fei didn't give up. He turned around and chased another person. Chapter 360. The scene outside the big red trunk suddenly became extremely strange. The dragon-like red leaves were chasing Han Fei, and Han Fei was chasing a peak-level dangling fisher. At this moment, Han Fei had caught up with another person. The man was about to escape, but suddenly he felt that the spiritual energy in his body stagnated, and a golden rope had tied him up. Spirit restricting rope. No, Han Fei picked up the man and then got into the sword leaves. After only a few seconds, the man fell out of the leaves. His chest was pierced by a knife, and his internal organs were shattered. Sun Mu's face changed slightly. Mo Fian, Yangdiu, if you want the sea token, let your people do it. The 2 who were still watching the show shrugged slightly. However, they didn't refute and just waved their hands. In an instant, 12 peak-level dangling fishers attacked him. In the splendor, Han Fei was blown away together with the sword leaves. F***ck, so many? Han Fei was dumbfounded. Are peak-level dangling fishers so worthless? There are more than a dozen of them? And there are 3 noble young masters and young ladies watching the show. Do they really think I'm a monkey? Qilu, in order to prevent these people from chasing him, Han Fei rushed into the school of Millennium Snappers again. However, this time, none of the 12 people behind him looked back. All of them seemed to be watching a show. They seemed to be saying that Li Yao should either rush into the shoal of Millennium Snappers or get down here and wait to be captured. Han Fei said, "You forced me to do this." Han Fei rushed into the 500-meter-high big red trunk leaves. At the moment he entered, Han Fei threw the hexagon starfish out. "Master Hexagon Starfish, help me set up a concealment array." "Hurry up." The hexagon starfish muttered, "The concealment array can't stop 12 people. We will definitely be discovered. 3 seconds. As long as we can hold on for 3 seconds, it will be enough." The hexagon starfish asked, "Is this simple?" In the red leaves, the 12 people were still chasing him. However, these 12 people formed a group and blocked the burning of the red leaves with spiritual energy. Han Fei didn't have it so easy. As he ran, he was burning at the same time. His brain was about to explode. "Mr. Hexagon Starfish, are you done?" The hexagon starfish said, "Okay, come here." After a while, "Where is that kid?" Someone was confused. "He was almost blocked by us just now. Did he use a flash stone to get out?" Someone shook his head. "No, we can sense it if it's a flash stone. Moreover, with young master and the rest outside, he won't be able to escape." "No, there's a concealment array." Immediately, a few people made their moves. That concealment formation was directly shattered, but in the end, they still could not find him. In Forge the Universe, Han Fei kept casting the divine healing technique on himself. How tragic! He thought that there were only the people of the Sun family. He thought that the superminds he had set up in the land of starfish could kill a few of them. But who knew that so many of them would appear all of a sudden? They were all peak-level great fishing masters. It was hard for him to kill one, let alone so many. Truth be told, Han Fei believed that in a head-on confrontation, all 3 of them would be enough to suppress him. 4 people could beat him like an iron-head fish. 5 people could beat him like a punching bag. Han Fei's face was black. "Okay, you want the sea token, don't you? I'll make one for you on the spot." Han Fei had a lot of materials and several spiritual weapons that he got from killing others. He put in a lot of effort and threw a mid-grade spiritual longsword into the gourd. He didn't need to synthesize many materials to reforge it. Otherwise, a mid-quality spiritual weapon would cost a lot of spiritual energy. Han Fei had very little spiritual energy at the moment. After cultivating the indestructible body for an hour, he didn't even have 300,000 points of spiritual energy. At this moment, seeing his spiritual energy suddenly become 240,163 points, he almost burst into tears. This time, after going out, he really had to find a place to properly cultivate. Otherwise, with his current rate of consumption, he was afraid that the next time he was chased, he would run out of spirit chi while fighting. Who could he cry to? But what Han Fei didn't know was that no matter how fast it was, it would take him a while to reforge it. He didn't know that something big had happened outside. Yang Ruoyun didn't care about Han Fei from beginning to end. And because of his low strength, he was only guarded by Sun Mu alone. At this moment, when everyone's eyes were focused on Han Fei, on the trunk of the big red trunk, a circle of ancient characters appeared. If Han Fei were here, he would recognize that this was the map that Yang Ruoyun had just thrown out. But at this moment, no one knew. Jingle, jingle, Yang Ruoyun suddenly crossed her hands and shook them, and the bell on her wrist made a crisp sound. "What are you doing?" Next to Yang Ruoyun, the servant of the Sun family scolded. Yang Ruoyun lowered her head with a smile on her face. "Father, after 9 years, I'm finally here. This time, if I can't succeed, I will sacrifice myself." When the servant of the Sun family heard this, for some reason, he felt a sense of horror. He grabbed Yang Ruoyan's neck and said, "What did you just say? What do you want to sacrifice?" On the other side, Sun Mu and the others found something wrong and swam over. "What's going on?" There was no fear on Yang Ruoyan's face. At this moment she actually laughed. "Red ball, here it comes." The grumpy Yang Diu kicked Yang Ruoyan away. "Red ball what? What's that?" Before Yang Diu continued to ask, everyone suddenly raised their heads. It was a dense red light, which seemed to be coming from the leaves of the big red trunk. In this red light there were also dazzling red light spots, which turned into streamers and flew towards everyone present. Mo Fian raised her hand, and a green ring on her hand emitted a green jade-colored seal, directly protecting her whole body in it. Yang Diu and Su Mu also reacted immediately. Like Mo Fian, they were also protected by some kind of seal, but the others didn't have such prominent identities, so they were instantly wrapped by the red light. Within the entire range of the big red trunk, nearly 30 people were almost petrified in an instant, motionless. Yang Diu said angrily, "What's this? I feel that my protective jade is about to break." Mo Fian no longer looked enchanting and her face was ugly. "Me too." Sun Mu looked at the others, thought for a moment, and immediately took back the protective jade that was about to break. At the moment when the seal around Sun Mu disappeared, he entered a petrified state. Yang Diu and Mo Fian looked at each other, put away the protective jade at the same time, and also entered this petrified state. Only Yang Ruoyan, who had been ignored by everyone, suddenly opened her eyes. She shook her spiritual energy, and the clothes on her body were shattered. What was exposed was the dense weird tattoos all over her body. These tattoos were shining with golden light, dazzling and dazzling. Yang Ruoyan reached out and seemed to grab something. When she put it in her hand, it turned out to be a crimson spiritual fruit. Yang Ruoyan stuffed this crimson spiritual fruit into her mouth without hesitation. After a long time, she suddenly raised her head and squeaked at the big red trunk. At this moment, everyone was frozen in place. Otherwise, they would have been too shocked to speak. "Isn't this the sound made by the Millennium Snapper?" At this moment, Han Fei's injuries had recovered, and he was holding 2 identical tokens in his hand. "Tsk, this method of forgery is amazing. Why didn't I think of forging one earlier?" Han Fei glanced at the fake C token in his hand. A mid-quality spiritual weapon. No matter whether this thing was fake or not, it was still a spiritual weapon. He was a little reluctant to throw it away, forget it. As long as those people don't bother me, I'll give it to them. With a swish, Han Fei disappeared from Forge the Universe. "Master Hexagon Starfish, Master Hexagon Starfish, where are you?" However, before Han Fei finished his words, he felt a strange force attached to his body. He felt his limbs were stiff, and an indescribable sleepiness came over him. Buzz, Han Fei felt that the demon purification pot in his hand kept flickering, and the next moment, a large amount of spiritual energy surrounded him. The demon purification pot actually took the initiative to use spiritual energy? But even so, Han Fei still felt that his limbs were gradually stiffening, and he found that he couldn't run anymore. "No, I can't stay in the tree." Han Fei bit the tip of his tongue, and the next moment, he jumped out. His whole body was free-falling among the leaves. Occasionally, when he hit a branch, he had to move to let himself continue to fall. He had no choice. If he stayed on the tree, he would be burned alive by the leaves of the big red trunk. His current spiritual energy was not enough to support him for half an hour. Finally, when Han Fei felt that he was about to fall asleep, he finally fell out of the leaves of the big red trunk. However, as soon as he landed, he was on his back. At that time, he was stunned. His eyes were full of flashing red light, and there seemed to be a fruit in front of him. He only saw the word "red ball," and then he didn't know anything else. Chapter 361. He heard the gurgling sound of water, and his body seemed to be soaked by seawater. From his mouth and nose to his lungs, he felt slightly cold. Han Fei woke up from the chaos and struggled to open his eyes. Suddenly, Han Fei shivered. He was too familiar with the view before him. Everything was like a magnifying glass from the weird perspective. He rolled his eyes and saw a tall seaweed. The round vine seaweed was floating above his head like a huge millstone. He rolled his eyes down and felt that he was in a chaotic place. Every rock at the bottom of the sea, every strand of seaweed, every fish that swam by, everything seemed to be bent, and it was an indescribable ugliness. Am I in the Soul Ocean again? But then, Han Fei felt that something was wrong. Behind him, there were a dozen fish that looked the same as him. They were fish that Han Fei couldn't tell the name of at all. The demon purification pot's detection ability seemed to have failed. Because it was not the first time that he had experienced this feeling, Han Fei quickly turned his body, trying to see what the fish behind him looked like. But as he turned sideways, the shoal of fish behind him followed suit. However, he still saw it. It was a fish with a red tail and long fins. When its tail waved, it was like a soft veil that blocked the wind on a summer day. When a big black fish swam close, Han Fei subconsciously swam quickly and took an arc in the water. The group of fish behind him also followed him to the side. Isn't it the Soul Ocean? Han Fei was stunned. At that moment, he seemed to have sensed the hostility of the big black fish. It was trying to prey on him. An anti-heaven blade? When the big black fish completely bypassed him, Han Fei saw its whole body clearly and was shocked. He watched as the anti-heaven blade turned around and charged at the dozen or so small fish that he was leading. Again, Han Fei immediately accelerated, and his body drew a graceful red shadow in the water like an arc. However, one of the fish behind him seemed to be a little slow and was bitten by the anti-heaven blade. In Han Fei's eyes, the enormous anti-heaven blade was like a behemoth in the ocean. It shook its head and tore off the tail of the red fish. A fish without a tail would definitely die. The next moment, anti-heaven blade bit it in his mouth and swallowed it in a few bites. Holy shit, Han Fei subconsciously swallowed. However, how could he have any saliva left? A mouthful of seawater was swallowed into its mouth and flowed out along its gills. Han Fei was dumbfounded. This was not the Soul Ocean. Where was this? Yes, if he was in the Soul Ocean, he should have possessed Little Black or Little White. If he could really possess Little Black, he would be able to kill the anti-heaven blade without hesitation. Putting aside the anti-heaven saber, he could do anything he wanted. He would not stop until he was dead. But now, Han Fei opened his mouth. Although he had teeth in his mouth, what could he eat? Compared with the enormous anti-heaven saber, Han Fei regretfully discovered that he was no taller than half a meter. In other words, he was about the same size as Little Black, but his ability was not just a little bit inferior. Blacky Whitey. He tried to release Little Black and Little White, but they didn't move at all. He tried to summon the nine-tailed mantis shrimp and Little Gold, but nothing happened. It doesn't work? Damn it, forge the universe. Han Fei tragically discovered that he couldn't sense anything at all. He wanted to separate his soul from his body, but he couldn't even do that. How the hell did I become like this? Why am I waiting for other fish to eat me? Han Fei felt that the whole world was not good. Just a second ago, he only felt extremely sleepy, but the moment he closed his eyes and opened them, he had become a fish. Who the hell should I tell? At this moment, Han Fei saw a few more anti-heaven sabers swimming close quickly from a distance. He was lost for words. Weren't they trying to kill him? With his tiny body, he could be killed in a few bites. Chi-Lu, Han Fei began to speed up, his tail wagging non-stop. The minions behind him also began to speed up with Han Fei. For a moment, the anti-heaven sabers seemed stunned. Originally, in their eyes, this group was just a bunch of tiny food. Usually, they could just charge over and take one away with a single swipe. Why did they suddenly speed up? However, Han Fei's action seemed to have boosted the fighting spirit of the anti-heaven sabers, who sprinted after him. The anti-heaven sabers were swimming blindly in front of him, and the anti-heaven sabers were chasing them blindly. Several times, the anti-heaven sabers almost broke up his school of fish. Thankfully, he was steady and didn't get caught, or the school of fish would have been doomed. However, even so, Han Fei lost 2 more underlings. Han Fei turned around, only to find that there were only a dozen or so lackeys behind him, but their number was plummeting. When an anti-heaven saber came close, Han Fei even saw that its blade aura was going to cut him into halves. Immediately, he flashed forward as fast as he could. The moment Han Fei flung himself out, he found that his tail left a red trace at the bottom of the sea that looked like a thread. When he brushed past the anti-heaven blade, he had the urge to bite the anti-heaven blade to death. No, I can't go on like this. Han Fei even thought that the big fish usually hunted the small fish from the middle, because the middle was densest and easiest to prey on. But if his underlings were all eaten up, then what was the point of being in the middle? As the leader, he would be killed at any moment. There was no telling whether it was because of the fish's own thinking or because Han Fei was affected by something, but when he saw another lackey was bitten to death, Han Fei was infuriated. Seeing that an anti-heaven blade was charging at him, Han Fei swung his tail hard, turned around, and bit the anti-heaven blade backhandedly. As Han Fei bit down, a piece of flesh was bitten off by him. Han Fei wasn't the only fish that fought back. While he fought back, he sensed that the lackeys behind him went on a rampage and bit at the anti-heaven saber. Almost in the blink of an eye, a dozen pieces of flesh were bitten off from the anti-heaven saber, and the water was almost dyed red by the fish's blood. Han Fei was shocked. Shoot! Are my teeth so tough? It's so easy to tear off a piece of flesh without any resistance. Han Fei realized that every fish had its own characteristic. Although he was small, his teeth were not bad, and his reaction speed was quite fast. Han Fei was so excited that he blew a bubble. "Brothers, charge with me!" The little guys surrounded the anti-heaven saber crazily. It only took them 2 seconds to bite the anti-heaven saber into a sieve. The smell of blood stimulated the few anti-heaven sabers that were chasing him. In the chaos, Han Fei dodged left and right and bit every fish he caught. After a minute, Han Fei only had 9 lackeys left. However, 4 anti-heaven sabers had been killed by them. At this moment, there were only a pile of bones left. Han Fei hurried to flee with his lackeys. Such a strong smell of blood would inevitably attract more fish. If he stayed any longer, he would probably die here. However, when Han Fei began to flee quickly, he found that his teeth were itchy and he wanted to bite something. Not just his teeth, Han Fei also felt that he was swimming more than 10% faster than before. Huh? I can improve myself by eating fish? Han Fei immediately grew excited. This was somewhat similar to the Soul Sea. Back then, he had transformed into Little Black and devoured everything in the Soul Ocean. His strength had skyrocketed like a rocket. At this moment, he seemed to have discovered something. Although this was not the Soul Ocean, he still needed food, a lot of food. Only in this way could he grow quickly and escape the fate of being hunted. Although, until now, he still did not understand why he became a fish. But he guessed that it should be some strange phenomenon caused by the red light. That woman, Yang Ruoyun, had been acting strangely before. He felt that she had a huge secret. That was why he insisted on teaming up with Yang Ruoyun when he saw her in the Seaborn Prairie. The big secret was too tempting. At this moment, he felt that the big secret was right in front of him. Also, he wondered if the others had also become fish. Han Fei didn't know if his guess was right, but since Yang Ruoyun said that half of them could go back alive, it meant that his current state was definitely not a dead end. Since it wasn't a dead end, he had to survive and find a way back. Chapter 362. Eating was the eternal truth in this world. Eating with the mouth was eating, absorbing spiritual energy with the body was also eating, swallowing spiritual fruits, and energy was still eating. At this time, Han Fei seemed to have understood the true meaning of the fish world, which was to eat. With this accurate understanding, Han Fei's purpose was clear. If he wanted to go out, he had to survive first. If he wanted to survive, he couldn't hide. Only by constantly strengthening himself could he survive in this world of fish. Han Fei quickly left the bottom of the sea with his 9 little brothers. At this moment, he had no spiritual perception ability, so he couldn't detect the creatures hidden on the bottom of the sea. Instead, the middle and upper levels were the most lively places in the sea. Creatures of all sizes, hundreds of fish, almost all lived and hunted there. "Brothers, let's go." Although Han Fei didn't know what kind of fish he was, this fish didn't seem bad. Its advantages were fast, good teeth, and a big appetite. After avoiding a small group of spiky armor fish, he ran around a treasure-hunting fish and finally found a school of crescent moon fish. There were a lot of crescent moon fish. Han Fei was just about to rush up when the crescent arc-like knives slashed at him, scaring him into turning around and running away. Han Fei was about to cry. He only had 9 little brothers, so obviously he couldn't beat them. Fortunately, there was no such thing as a heartless fish. After struggling for a long time and losing a little brother, he finally encountered a school of pearl fish. "Brothers, let's eat!" Han Fei attacked at full speed with all his might, and finally tasted the delicious fish. Yes, the feeling of eating fish was like eating braised pork. As long as it was a large piece of meat, it would feel wonderful. Han Fei and his 9 little brothers, like a group of bandits, chased after the pearl fish and ate them for a long time until they encountered a group of the same kind who also came to hunt. Han Fei was stunned. Can the same species be eaten? After crazily devouring dozens of pearl fish, he had become several times bigger. Whether it was speed, strength, or bite force, he felt that he had become several times stronger. Now, a group of the same kind came. The other party was a little smaller than him. However, when Han Fei saw the fish's eyes, he was a little flustered. Humans? Yes, while he was sizing up the fish was also sizing him up. Without a doubt, the other party was definitely like him, possessed by a human. Normally, the same kind shouldn't eat the same kind, but at this moment, Han Fei couldn't help but want to bite that fish to death. It was a palpitation from the bottom of his heart. He was afraid that the other party had the same thoughts as him. But the problem was that Han Fei still had 1 underling left. But on the other side, there were as many as 17. Although the fish on the other side were smaller, there were more of them. Han Fei wanted to restrain himself from eating the fish, but when he was about to turn around, his desire made him stay. That desire told him that he could win. The fish opposite him could win. Perhaps they were blinded by the desire, but the 2 of them charged at each other at the same time. The lackeys behind him also began to follow closely behind, as if they were willing to risk their lives for their boss. Dozens of red lines twisted and tore at each other in the sea. In an instant, the entire body of water was filled with red shadows. Han Fei didn't underestimate his combat power. It was natural for a big fish to eat a small fish. The other party didn't seem to expect the fish led by Han Fei to be so powerful. After just a few clashes, half of his lackeys were lost, while only 2 were killed on Han Fei's side. The other party was scared and wanted to escape, but Han Fei went crazy and chased after him to bite him. Crack! When Han Fei bit the other party's tail, the balance of victory had already tilted to him. If a fish had no tail, how could it swim? As the other party struggled in horror, Han Fei bit him through in a few bites. But different from eating fish before, when Han Fei bit the other party to death, a mysterious energy was absorbed from the other party's body into his own. Suddenly, Han Fei felt that he had become as much as 50% stronger. When Han Fei looked back, he found that the lackeys on both sides had stopped biting. This person's lackeys still had 4 left, and his lackeys only had 5 left. At that moment, There were 9 fish behind Han Fei again. When Han Fei realized what was going on, he suddenly realized something. Could it be that all the people on the big red trunk's side had become fish? And then they were thrown into this sea area to fight each other? Could they grow by plundering the power of other fish? If so, didn't it mean that he still had dozens of opponents? Not only human opponents, but also the native marine creatures in this sea area? But these were not the key points. The key point was, why did everyone possess the body of a fish? When everyone was born, they all had a group of lackeys. Was it to protect themselves? If it was really to protect him when he was young in the early stages, then this had become a game where the goal was to kill, but what was the purpose of the game? In this world, there was no reason for anything. Everything was related to cause and effect. The result of the fish fighting each other was like raising poisonous insects. In the end, the strong would definitely survive. And they would get stronger and stronger. If you didn't want to die, you had to fight. At this time, Han Fei probably understood why people died in the center of the seaborne prairie, where the big red trunk was. In fact, the real place where people died was not there, but in the fishery where he was now. In this way, there was only one question left in Han Fei's mind: what if he became one of the last few surviving fish? With this question, Han Fei didn't dare to stay for a moment and continued to look for fish with his new lackeys. Han Fei didn't know how long it had been. It seemed that fish always had no concept of time. He only knew that he had eaten a lot of fish, and now his body had almost turned dark red. During this period, he encountered other people with their lackeys 3 times, but they were all killed by him. Originally, he had 7 fish, but now he had 1 fish. Of course, after several battles, the first batch of lackeys that followed him had long been killed. The later lackeys didn't have the original accumulation, so the gap between them was getting bigger and bigger. Now, the strongest one was probably not even half as fast and strong as him. Just when Han Fei was about to continue to look for fish, a crazy smell came from the sea. It was not the smell of blood, but a special smell that was more tempting than spiritual energy. Immediately, Han Fei gave up looking for fish and followed the smell of luring fish. Something's wrong, Han Fei shook his head from time to time. He found that the stronger he became, the more blurred his consciousness became. At this moment, stimulated by this smell, he almost completely lost his mind. No, I can't eat anymore. There's something wrong with this fish. Han Fei couldn't help turning sideways and looking at the group of lackeys behind him. Almost all of their eyes were red, and even when they swam, they had to bare their teeth and bite at the seawater. And they were all staring at him. At that moment, Han Fei was horrified. Are these guys going to eat me? Immediately, Han Fei shivered. The eyes of this group of fish were all red, and in their eyes there was only food left. And he felt that he was about to lose control. Swish! Han Fei's body moved in an arc. Using his fastest speed, he made a semicircle upwards. The lackeys behind him wanted to keep up, but Han Fei was too fast. He circled around and bit at his little brother. When Han Fei bit his first lackey to death, this group of lackeys went crazy and all bit at Han Fei. I'm your King boss. Behave yourself. However, no fish paid any attention to him. They all bared their teeth and looked ferocious. CK. You want to bite me? Are you faster than me? Are you as big as me? Are your teeth as good as mine? This water area was soon covered with fine fish. Han Fei's lackeys had been bitten to death by him. At this time, Han Fei was almost out of control and felt that he was about to lose himself. When he looked out, the clear ocean world had turned into a bright red ocean world. No, I can't lose myself, I can't. But Han Fei suddenly straightened his body and bared his teeth. He rushed up and bit the remaining lackeys crazily. In just a moment, all the lackeys were bitten to death by Han Fei. And Han Fei's body had turned purple, and some parts of his body were purple and black. Han Fei was still lost in the end. In fact, Han Fei was not the only fish like this. In places where Han Fei couldn't see, there were dozens of fish like him. 2 of them were even larger than him. At this moment, the little red fish, which had been scattered around, all gathered in one place. Coincidentally, Han Fei happened to encounter a fish about the same size as him, with 5 or 6 lackeys behind it. The 2 sides were still far away from each other, but they rushed at each other. Han Fei felt like he was in a dream. In the dream, he was eating hot pot, gulping it down. After eating a lobster, he got a bull conch. After a bull conch was finished, he got another plate ray. Beside him, Lu Renquang shivered and said, "Fei Fei, when did you become so good at eating? For the first time, I actually lost to you at eating." Han Fei pushed Lu Renquang away. "Get out of the way, get out of the way, I'm hungry, I'm so hungry." Zhang Xuanyu sat opposite Han Fei. "Fei Fei, do you want to become a fat man again? Then Xia Xiaochan will despise you when she sees you." Han Fei scoffed. "I don't care. I'm hungry. If I'm hungry, I have to eat." Luo Xiaobai said lightly, "Don't eat too much. It's okay. I know what I'm doing." Han Fei continued to wolf down, and soon the plate ray was finished for him, and he threw in a big crab. Feeling that something was missing, Han Fei looked around. "Hey, where's my garlic? Where's my chili? Where did you take my seasoning?" Just when Han Fei was looking for seasoning, he suddenly stabbed a dagger into his stomach. He stabbed himself in the stomach with the shou, leaving a large gash on his stomach. At this moment, Xia Xiaochan grinned at Han Fei, but Han Fei immediately found something wrong. At this moment, Xia Xiaochan grinned at Han Fei, but Han Fei immediately found that something was wrong. At this moment, Xia Xiaochan didn't move but stared at Han Fei. However, Xia Xiaochan didn't move but just stared at Han Fei. However, Xia Xiaochan didn't move but stared straight at Han Fei. The Xia Xiaochan in front of him had turned into a big red fish. Han Fei shuddered and suddenly woke up. "What did I do? I was eating fish with a group of kids, and in front of him, there was a big red fish about the same size as him, covered with bite marks." And Han Fei felt that the fish's stomach hurt so much that its intestines almost fell out. Hiss! Han Fei suddenly accelerated, bumped his head into the big fish in front of him, and sent it flying. Then, his body turned into a red shadow, and he bit through the fish's belly. After several bites, Han Fei felt that there was surging energy in his body, which was inexhaustible. "No, I can't eat it, I can't eat it anymore." Han Fei resisted the urge to swallow, spat out the large pieces of fish in his mouth with difficulty, and tried to stop his body from swimming. He struggled hard for a long time before he managed to resist the urge to continue swallowing. Although he wanted to rush up and tear other fish when he passed by them, his mind kept telling him that he couldn't eat it. He couldn't eat it. He didn't know how long he persisted, but Han Fei swam to a weird water area in a daze. This water area was dark, and as far as he could see, there seemed to be a burning fireball. For some reason, Han Fei just couldn't control himself and swam towards the fireball. After seeing the fireball clearly, Han Fei was refreshed again. Big red trunk. This was a big red trunk that was no more than 10 meters tall, many times smaller than the one he had seen before. However, it was this big red trunk that was full of red fruit, and around the big red trunk there were dozens of fish like him. At this moment they were all staring at the fruit. Among them, a few fish were emitting red light, and a wave of energy enveloped them. Han Fei saw a fish go forward and bite a fruit, and then its body also emitted red light. It was a kind of power that fascinated the fish, more so than spiritual energy. Spiritual energy could only be used for cultivation, and this fruit made Han Fei only have one thought in his mind at that time. Eat it, you will become stronger after eating it, and you can become the strongest. Han Fei's eyes were a little confused. He wanted to bite it several times, but he couldn't. There were other fish that swallowed the fruit in one bite, and then seemed to become extremely powerful. But there were also fish that didn't move. Some were as confused as Han Fei, some struggled strongly, and some simply closed their mouths. In confusion and chaos, a sentence seemed to come to Han Fei's mind: "Don't eat the fruit." Thinking of this sentence, Han Fei immediately stepped back. It was too terrifying, this fruit was too terrifying, almost making him lose his mind. After Han Fei retreated dozens of meters away, he counted carefully. There were 26 fish on the spot, and 14 of them were glowing red. "No, it's become 15. Another fish came forward and swallowed the fruit. "Don't eat the fish." This sentence came to Han Fei's mind again. At that moment, he turned his head away. He absolutely could not eat this fruit. He was just a little bit away from eating it. The remaining 11 fish didn't eat the fruit. 2 of them, like Han Fei, retreated dozens of meters, and the rest kept struggling. But an unexpected scene happened. The fruits actually left the branches of the big red leaves, were carried by the red leaves, and were sent to the mouths of the fish that hadn't eaten. Even Han Fei had a fruit floating to his mouth. F***ck. I want to eat it, I'm so hungry. F***ck. I can't eat it. Han Fei pursed his lips. Even though the natural reaction of this fish body was to open this mouth, he still forcibly suppressed it. F***ck off. Han Fei suddenly turned around and slapped the fruit with his tail, sending it flying. But among the other struggling fish, 2 of them couldn't resist the temptation and finally swallowed the fruit into their stomachs. After the 2 fishes swallowed the spirit fruit, the red fruit's attractiveness suddenly decreased. Han Fei only felt that his whole body was much lighter. The only other fish were still quickly retreating, as if they had finally gotten rid of this damn fruit. However, as soon as the 9 of them retreated, they found that the fish opposite them suddenly looked at them. Clatter. Han Fei thought to himself, "Oh no! I resisted it, but these guys opposite me didn't." The 9 fish looked at each other almost subconsciously. Then, they instantly gathered together. It was not impossible for them to fight against many. After all, the other party only had 17 fish, and these guys seemed to have lost their minds. But Han Fei and the other 9 fish were already sober at this moment. Would they do such a desperate thing? There were 2 fish around them, and they suddenly attacked 1 fish between them, and then directly threw the unlucky fish over with their tails. The group of red-eyed fish all rushed up after eating the spiritual fruit. Almost in the blink of an eye, a pool of blood burst out there. Han Fei was speechless. These people were too ruthless. Even at this moment, they still wanted to throw out cannon fodder. Han Fei and the other 9 fish quickly fled. Fearing that these damn guys would play dirty, Han Fei deliberately swam a little farther away. He didn't want to get close to either side. There seemed to be others who had the same idea as Han Fei. So, the 9 fish soon dispersed. When the blood mist over there dissipated, there were only 14 of the 17 fish left. In just a moment, they had eaten 3 more fish. Han Fei didn't know if there were any fish chasing behind him, but he just ran as fast as he could. This fruit really couldn't be eaten. Not only could it not be eaten, but Han Fei also thought that fish couldn't be eaten either. Because in that secret realm, the phantom seemed to have said something wrong. The fruit couldn't be eaten and it also mentioned fish. Although it didn't make it clear, he felt that it should be warning him that fish couldn't be eaten either. Han Fei was helpless. What if I can't eat it? If I don't eat it at the beginning, I will soon be destroyed. But if I eat it, I will become addicted, and it will become a feeling of being able to eat it for a while. Han Fei felt that he was being controlled by the big red trunk. This thing was very bad. He didn't know how to turn people into fish, let alone whether he could go back or not. Just when he was thinking about that, his eyes suddenly went dark without any warning. He was caught off guard. When Han Fei woke up again, it was like a dream, extremely absurd. He opened his eyes, and what came into view was the red light all over the sky. At this moment, he was lying on the ground, his body still a little numb and stiff, but he could barely move. Han Fei sat up with difficulty and looked around, only to find that Sun Mu and the other two had just woken up. At this moment, they were covering their chest with horror on their faces. In other places, dozens of people woke up from the frozen state one after another, either falling to the ground or covering their heads. Han Fei was speechless. That's it? Everything is a dream? Everything is an illusion? Everyone is still alive? Chapter 363. The others also seemed to be wondering if this was a dream or a real test of life and death. However, the red light all over the sky hadn't dissipated yet. In front of him, there was really a red fruit floating. At this time, Han Fei finally saw what this fruit was. Name Red Ball. Introduction. This is a spiritual fruit growing on the transformation demon tree, which can transform humans into demons. Because the level of the spiritual fruit is too low, it can't awaken wisdom. All demons were born from the primal chaos, and only after a long period of cultivation could they gain intelligence and become demons. Level. Spiritual level. Quality. High quality, contains spiritual energy greater than 6,696 points. Effect. Humans can transform into demons, and sea demons can strengthen their bloodline. Han Fei was stunned. Humans can transform into demons, and sea demons can transform into fish? Are you King kidding me? Han Fei felt that he was being noticed. He turned his head and saw that Sun Mu and the others were looking at him. Han Fei was speechless. I've just transformed into fish and now I'm being hunted. How miserable! However, before Sun Mu and the others took any action, the subordinates around them all knelt on the ground or lay on the ground. Those who were lying on the ground were already dead, and the people kneeling on the ground were glowing red, and all of them were in pain. Not only Sun Mu's subordinates, but the other lone cultivators in the other four directions also fell to the ground one after another. Yang Diu's face changed drastically and he scolded angrily, "Get up! What the hell is going on?" Emofian's face was dark. He's dead. It's not a dream, but a trial? Sun Mu's face was also livid. No, it's not just a trial. There's also something wrong with the fruit. It's not a chance. As Sun Mu spoke, the red light on the subordinate named Sun Chi became brighter and brighter until his flesh began to disintegrate, his hair began to burn, and his legs were disappearing. Get out of the way. Sun Mu picked up a subordinate who was fine with each hand and flashed to the side. Yang Diu also had a subordinate who was fine and was pushed aside by him. Only Emofian and her three subordinates were all kneeling on the ground. Squeak! Just when everyone was staring at Sun Chi, they heard a beautiful song coming from his body. Everyone who was still standing, including Han Fei, shuddered. They seemed to have discovered a shocking secret. Holy *T, it really will change? Han Fei swallowed. In his eyes, Sun Chi's body was rapidly transforming. His back bulged up, his feet turned into a fish's tail, his head and body fused together, and his arms grew fish fins. Gulp! Not just Sun Chi, Han Fei also saw a dozen people around him. They were all transforming, with squeaking noises coming out of their bodies. Han Fei swallowed hard. Almost. When he became a fish, he almost ate the red ball in front of him. Suddenly, Han Fei sensed something between his eyebrows. Little Black and Little White were coming out. Of course, Han Fei wouldn't stop him. The moment Little White came out, it swallowed the red ball floating in the water. Han Fei was speechless. Xiaobai must be a sea demon too. To be precise, all marine creatures should be sea demons. Little White ate happily. When a red ball was swallowed, Little White and Little Black glowed at the same time. Upgraded? Han Fei's eyes widened. Is this red ball so effective on Little White and Little White? Han Fei couldn't help thinking, didn't the seaweed monster in the Seaweed City wall want me to bring him a red ball fruit? Little White and Little Black were running after the red ball. But for some reason, after a red ball was eaten by Little White, it could no longer catch up with the second one. Han Fei wasn't interested in the damn fruit at all, but his daughter needed it. Immediately, Han Fei took action and began to chase the fruit in the red light all over the sky. Maybe Han Fei was not a demon, but he just casually grabbed a red ball in his hand. Seeing that its master had succeeded, Little White hurriedly swam over and looked at Han Fei eagerly. Feeling that the red ball in his hand was struggling violently, Han Fei couldn't help but grin. I've been eaten once, so I can't eat it a second time? This fruit is a bit interesting. It's a pity that my daughter wants to eat it. You can't eat it. Han Fei opened his hand, and Little White sucked the red ball into its mouth. At this moment, Little White and Little Black were shining brighter and brighter, and Han Fei felt that these two little guys were about to make a breakthrough again. Seeing this, Han Fei couldn't help but be in a trance. Since Little White and Little Black can eat it, can Nine-Tails and Little Gold eat it? Immediately, he released the nine-tailed mantis shrimp. But Nine-Tails didn't react to the red ball at all and didn't intend to catch it at all. Han Fei asked him to catch it, but the chain was very empty and the red balls ran around him. On the other side, Sun Mu and Mo Fian and the others looked at Han Fei's actions and couldn't help wondering, can spiritual beasts be eaten? Yang Diyu's expression changed immediately, and a scorpion with a shiny shell appeared. Yang Diyu grabbed the red ball in front of him and was about to give it to the scorpion, but Mo Fian stopped him with one hand. Mo Fian scoffed. Idiot! Let your subordinates try it first. Yang Diyu was taken aback and then looked coldly at his only remaining subordinate. Come on. This fruit doesn't hide from us. You can try to feed it to your spiritual beast. Yang Diyu's subordinate's face darkened. In his heart, he couldn't wait to kill Mo Fian, this damn woman. It wasn't easy for him to survive, and it was just to be a guinea pig? Sun Mu asked, isn't there one more person? Let that person try it first. There was another person Sun Mu was talking about, an outsider who survived in addition to them and Han Fei. That person was quietly retreating at this moment. He was not stupid. It was already a blessing that he could survive. Whether it was the Sun Mu trio or Han Fei, he couldn't deal with them. If he didn't run away now, when would he? Seeing Yang Diyu's subordinates chasing that person, Han Fei immediately said to Yang Diyu via voice transmission, come to me. Now only you and I are left. If the two of us work together, we still have a chance. At the same time, Han Fei said to Sun Mu and the others via voice transmission, stop. Do you think this is the end of the matter? Don't forget, the outside has been sealed, and our memories haven't disappeared yet. Sun Mu said, let's kill you first and then talk about the rest. Han Fei was speechless. F*CKU. I know how to get out without losing my memories. When we get out of this damn place, let's fight again, okay? Immediately, Mo Fian raised her hand to stop him. Don't do it. Han Fei, do you really know? Han Fei chuckled. I'm different from you. I'm only an intermediate dangling fisher, and you are all peak-level dangling fishers. Since I dare to come here, I have a way to get out. Yang Diyu immediately shouted to his subordinate, come back. And the remaining person, seeing Yang Diyu's subordinate retreat, immediately swam to Han Fei. As Han Fei said, he was too weak alone. In front of a group of peak-level dangling fishers, he, an advanced dangling fisher, could be killed in a flash. In the eyes of Sun Mu and the others, an advanced dangling fisher was really not a threat, so they let him go. Yang Diyu stared at Han Fei fiercely. Tell me, what can I do? Han Fei glanced at them and immediately had an idea. He immediately vowed, cut down the tree. The root of everything comes from this big red trunk. As long as we cut it down, all the problems will be solved. Bullsh *T. Mo Fian scoffed. If we could cut it down, wouldn't we have done it long ago? Do you think it's your turn to cut it down now? Yang Diyu swore. Do you have a fish brain? Do you want to hit such a thick tree with your head? Han Fei said contemptuously, you people, including those who died, all know that there are opportunities here. Who will really come here to cut down the tree? Have any of you thought about it? Han Fei was quick-witted enough to think of this in a hurry. After all, when people saw such a huge tree, their first feeling was awe and fear. Most importantly, those who had left this place and lost their memories had all obtained fortuitous encounters. But now, Han Fei didn't feel that he had got any opportunities. The red ball was not an opportunity at all. If ordinary people ate it, they would immediately turn into fish. As for opportunities, it was just the opportunities of spiritual beasts. This did not make sense at all. Therefore, Han Fei guessed that something was going to happen next. Unfortunately, he didn't want that so-called opportunity at all now. Who wanted to lose their memories for nothing? It was better to find a way to cut down this tree directly. That would be a real opportunity. Sun Mu suddenly said, "Let's not talk about it. Where is the other person?" Yang Diu asked, "What? The other person?" Sun Mu glanced around. "I remember that a fish survived. However, there are only 7 people standing here at this moment. Where is the other person?" Hearing Sun Mu's words, Han Fei was also stunned. However, Han Fei reacted faster. His first instinct was that Yang Ruoyun was gone. He looked around. Sure enough, the woman had disappeared. Then there was Yang Diu. He said coldly, "The woman who rang the bell just now is gone." Sun Mu looked at Han Fei. "Did that woman come with you?" Han Fei shrugged. "Don't ask me. I'm not familiar with her. If I was in cahoots with her, do you think I would have killed all of you long ago?" Clatter, just when everyone was full of doubts, dozens of red leaves floated down from the big red trunk, wrapping around those who had swallowed the red balls. At this moment, these people had almost all turned into fish. Its unique appearance was that of a millennium snapper. Han Fei, Sun Mu, and the others were also scared. People had turned into fish. This was a change of species. How terrifying was this? Then they looked above the big red trunk. The dense millennium snappers were singing, which made their hair stand on end. "Are these all human beings?" Emo Fian looked at her former subordinates not far away. At this moment, they were flapping their tails and making squeaking sounds. Emo Fian couldn't help but take a step back. Han Fei said, "Master Hexagon Starfish, is there any other way to run out?" Han Fei was scared. Different from the fish transformation technique, the fish transformation technique required people to actively try to turn into fish. Its ultimate purpose was to allow humans to freely switch between human form and fish form. This red ball, on the other hand, directly turned a person into a fish without any explanation. And it was specially turned into millennium snappers. Each of the millennium snappers here was equivalent to a human life. The hexagon starfish, who was hiding somewhere, responded to Han Fei, "There's no way out. Unless I'm carried out by a fish, I can't get out." "Carried out by a fish?" Han Fei continued, "Master Hexagon Starfish, can you help me collect a few more of those red fruits?" The hexagon starfish drilled out of the ground and hung on Han Fei's calf. "That's not difficult. There are a lot of fruits, but those fish don't give them to me. After eating one, they won't give me another one. But if you really want to take it, you can go to the school of fish to pick it. You can just let that little black fish of yours steal it." Han Fei's face changed slightly. "That millennium snapper is very powerful and can control spiritual plants. What if it finds little black?" The hexagon starfish said leisurely, "Fish are very stupid. They just guard the fruits, but once the fruits are picked, they don't care about them. Besides, your little black fish is not afraid of mental attack. What are you worried about?" How do you know that little black is not afraid of mental attacks?" Han Fei was speechless. "How do you know something that even I don't know?" The hexagon starfish said, "Your spiritual beasts are a bit strange. They seem to share everything, but they are a bit different, as if they are one. If you don't let little white out, the little black fish will not be afraid even if it dies. Very strange spiritual beasts." Han Fei was shocked. Little black and little white, as long as one survived, the other wouldn't die. But Han Fei didn't know that little black was not afraid of mental attacks. These were not recorded in the data. But the hexagon starfish, this mysterious big starfish, actually knew the secret between Little Black and Little White. Could it be that there was some kind of perception between mysterious creatures? Han Fei immediately asked Little Black to swim up to pick the fruit. This red ball was of no benefit to humans, but it seemed to have a strange enhancement for spiritual beasts. Yang Diyu's subordinate didn't say a word at the moment, for fear that his little master would think of him and let his spiritual beast eat the fruits again. He had seen the tragedy of a human turning into a fish, so he didn't want to take the risk. But Han Fei said to him via voice transmission, "Hey, do you want to cut down trees or not? Say something." Sun Mu took a deep look at Han Fei. "Even if I kill you, I can still cut down trees. Why should I keep you alive?" Han Fei sneered. "Now, more than half of your manpower has been lost. Not to mention whether you can kill me or not. Even if you can kill me, I can guarantee that only 1 or 2 of you will survive at most." With that said, more than 40 spiritual weapons popped out of Han Fei's body. This was all he had. Similarly, it was also one of his trump cards. Han Fei sneered. "Do you really think my spiritual weapons are useless? Even if I self-destruct, I can kill 1 or 2 of you. Is there a problem?" Yang Diu rubbed his head. F***ck, I knew the guy who could snatch the C token was not simple. This guy is a bit tricky. Mo Fian scoffed. "I like him more and more." Yang Diu glanced at Mo Fian contemptuously and cursed, "Mo Fian, don't be so shameless." Mo Fian's face suddenly became extremely ugly, and the long sword in her hand was wrapped in frost, and she slashed at Yang Diu. "Say that again." Looking at this scene, Han Fei chuckled and said, "Little beauty, cut him. Use your strength." Yang Diu pointed the axe at Han Fei and said, "Do you want to die?" Han Fei grinned and said, "I advise you to think about it quickly. Do you want to kill me or cut down trees? Don't dawdle. In a moment, something unexpected may happen again. If I turn into a fish again, how many of you think you can survive?" Sun Mu said lightly, "Try cutting it first. The trunk of this tree is thick, nearly 50 meters. Cut the tree with the sword in your hand? Don't forget, this is the big red trunk, a 10,000-year-old big red trunk. It's harder than a spiritual weapon. How many inches can you cut?" Of course, Han Fei had already considered this. "Hey, Sun Mu. Your Sun family has chased me 3 times, so you must know me well. I'm not talented, but I know some refining techniques. It's not difficult for me to refine a spiritual weapon that can cut down this tree. As long as the 3 of you can give me a spiritual fruit each, it'll only take half an hour. I'll make a sharp weapon for cutting down trees in half an hour." Yang Diu immediately scolded, "Who are you kidding, boy? You're about to die and you still want to cheat spiritual fruits from us? Are you out of your mind?" Mo Fian didn't speak but looked at Sun Mu. Sun Mu frowned slightly and then, to everyone's surprise, he really threw a spiritual fruit to Han Fei. Yang Diu asked, "Are you crazy?" Sun Mu looked at Han Fei expressionlessly. "There's still a lot of time to kill you, but today is an exception." There was a reason why Sun Mu made this choice. Not only because he was trapped in the seal of the big red trunk, but also because Yang Diu and Mo Fian were here. Even if he really killed Han Fei, it was still a question whether he could get the C token or not. With a smile, Mo Fian took a deep look at Sun Mu. This time, a lot of people of the Sun family had died. However, Sun Mu didn't even blink and chose to cooperate with Han Fei. This was very interesting. Mo Fian also threw a spiritual fruit to Han Fei and said, "I'm more and more curious about you. To be honest, if you come to my Mo family, I won't give you the C token. I'll protect you from Sun Mu." Han Fei snorted. "You are very beautiful." Mo Fian giggled. "Thank you for your compliment. But you are more beautiful than me." Mo Fian. Seeing that both Sun Mu and Mo Fian had given him a spiritual fruit, Yang Diu reluctantly threw out a spiritual fruit and threatened, "If you don't do it well, there will be one more person hunting you after today." Han Fei grabbed the 3 spiritual fruits and grinned. Give me half an hour. Then Han Fei looked at the advanced dangling fisher next to him and smiled. Brother, they won't attack you now. Don't worry. Then Han Fei flashed into the leaves of the big red trunk. After a while, there was no trace of him. After a moment, in the outside world, Yang Diu said, Sun Mu, this time, your Sun family has suffered a heavy loss. I don't think you can defeat that kid. Sun Mu snorted coldly. What? Is your Yang family going to intervene? Yang Diu looked rough, but in fact, he was not stupid. He sneered. Haven't I already intervened? The sea token can only be obtained by the Fated One. I think I may be the Fated One. Mo Fian nodded. Count me in. Let's see who can get the sea token by our own means. Sun Mu was still expressionless and said lightly, If he were so easy to catch, my Sun family wouldn't have lost so many people. You can have a try. Also, don't forget that woman just now. We don't know where she has gone. She is a hidden danger. Yang Diu said disdainfully, That woman is very weak. She can't compare with Han Fei. Sun Mu snorted and said, Idiot, it doesn't matter how strong or weak the people who can come here are. None of them are simple. Don't forget, that woman is also an intermediate dangling fisher, which is even more rare. After half an hour, voila! A figure jumped out of the leaves. Who else could it be but Han Fei? Han Fei waved his hand and several rings were thrown out. Yang Diu and Sun Mu's 2 subordinates immediately stepped forward and caught the rings. Only then did everyone see clearly that it was a soft saw nearly 100 meters long. The tiny blade, which looked like inverted teeth, made everyone have no doubt that this thing could easily cut off a spiritual weapon. Han Fei pulled the rings at the other end of the soft saw and said, This big red trunk can't be cut by swords and knives, but it's different with a saw knife. How about it? Try it? Han Fei was instigating. This big red trunk was the root of those Millennium Snappers. He didn't even know what would happen if he really sawed the tree. But Han Fei had to do this. He had to find a reason. Sawing the tree, triggering a riot of the Millennium Snappers, or some other series of consequences. No matter what, as long as he could kill the 5 people on the opposite side first. If the opposite side was just 5 ordinary peak-level dangling fishers, then he might try his best to kill them. But there were Sun Mu and the other 2 people on the opposite side. Although they hadn't fought, Han Fei was sure that with his current strength, he could only deal with one of them at most. If the 3 of them attacked him together, he would definitely be defeated. Although Han Fei thought he was very strong, it depended on who he was facing. How strong were the children of the big families in the 1,000-star city? He didn't dare to guess. When he dealt with Sun Yi alone, the other party used a secret method to unleash the strength of a dangling fisher, and he was almost killed. Han Fei looked at Sun Mu and the others and said, Do you want to do it? If you want to do it, hurry up. Yang Diu pouted and glanced at his subordinate. You go. With that, he looked at Sun Mu again. Hey, let your men go. Sun Mu nodded. In this regard, he and Yang Diu had the same mentality. They were not stupid. If they really went to cut the tree, they would still have a chance to react in case of a crisis. Han Fei seemed to have expected this result. He looked at the advanced dangling fisher next to him and asked, Brother, what's your name? This person was not young, in his early 20s, and he was not used to being called brother by Han Fei. But he knew how to judge the situation. Since he had chosen to cooperate with Han Fei, he had to act like a cooperative partner. Chernzhe, a soul warrior. Han Fei nodded. You come with me. Let's cut the tree. Sun Mu, Yang Diu's men, and Han Fei each took a side and began to pull the soft saws. Clatter, clatter, the soft saws went back and forth. When they pulled forward, the sound was low, and when they pulled back, it was slightly louder. In a situation where both sides were using spiritual energy, the efficiency could be said to be very high. In just one round, a huge saw mark was left on the trunk of the big red trunk. After more than a dozen rounds, the soft saws had already sunk into the big red trunk. Han Fei was speechless. I've already been sawing like this. Why don't you give me a reaction? Could it be that you're waiting for me to cut you down before you react? After 20 or 30 rounds, a squeaking sound came from above the big red trunk. Han Fei thought to himself, I'm afraid something is going to happen. So Han Fei quickly recalled Little Black. Sun Mu and the others couldn't see the other side of the trunk, and Little Black spat out the fruit to Little White. Only then did Han Fei realize that Little Black had stolen a red ball in one breath. Han Fei immediately said to Little White via voice transmission, Leave too. Suddenly, Yang Diu said with a giant axe in his hand, Han Fei, what is your spiritual beast doing? Little White slowly swam out from behind the trunk. Han Fei chuckled. What can a spirit-swallowing fish do? It just wants to circle around the big red trunk, to see if it has any reaction. Yang Diu shouted, Put away your spiritual beast. Don't try to play any tricks, otherwise I can chop you and cut down the tree. Han Fei sneered. Why don't you try? Believe it or not, I'll go up and provoke the Millennium Snapper instead of cutting down the tree. Let's see how you cut down the tree. The two looked at each other. In the end, Yang Diu snorted and didn't speak again. However, Yang Diu did something. He said to Mo Fian and Sun Mu via voice transmission, I have a feeling that this guy is stalling for time. Besides, we've been cutting down the tree for so long. Why don't we see any movement from this tree? Sun Mu responded, It's a bit strange. Let's wait and see. Squeak! Just after they sawed the tree 100 times, a very loud squeak suddenly came from above. Immediately afterward, the big red trunk began to shake. The tree itself was shaking, as if it had come to life. Its body was shaking. In just a moment, the sky was full of red leaves falling, and its flames directly covered a radius of dozens of kilometers, enveloping everyone. Han Fei and the other three were the first to fall. They were at the trunk of the tree and couldn't run at all. Han Fei shouted, Hey, do you still want to watch the show? If you have any trump cards, hurry up and use them to protect us. Buy us at least an hour before we have a chance to cut down this giant tree. Sun Mu and the others were speechless. An hour? What kind of trump card could last for an hour in this endless flame? But Han Fei didn't give up. He said via voice transmission, Now we're all in the same boat. This tree doesn't distinguish which family you belong to in the 1,000-star city. Even if you hide far away, you have to resist the red leaves all over the sky. Why don't you hide under the tree? As long as you persist through this period of time, we will win. Beside Han Fei, Chen Zhe was horrified. I can't hold on for so long. I will die. Han Fei sneered. At this point, no one can run away. Then, Han Fei spoke to everyone telepathically, Don't hold back anymore. Just use all your spiritual energy. This is a tree after all. While bluffing, Han Fei pulled the soft saw. This time, he really went all out. Spiritual energy surged from his body, and he quickly pulled the soft saw with both hands, indirectly making the two people opposite him speed up. However, after pulling back and forth for no more than 10 times, a large number of sword-shaped red leaves stabbed at Han Fei and the others. Their ears were full of squeaking sounds. Han Fei shouted, Hurry up, hurry up! Yang Diu cursed, chopped with an axe, and cut a red leaf. F***ck, give me a ring. Sun Mu hesitated for a moment and followed Yang Diu to grab a ring. When Han Fei refined this saw, he only set up 4 rings on each side. As a result, one of the other party must come to his side. He originally thought it would be one of his 2 subordinate. If they were on his side, he wouldn't be worried about being sneak attacked. Now, a sword chi swept away the red leaves, and Mo Fian appeared beside him. Mo Fian glanced at Han Fei with a cold face and said via voice transmission, I know you won't be so kind. You should have guessed this result long ago. Han Fei's lips curled. Didn't you guess this result? But you didn't stop me. This means that you are confident to survive these red leaves. Or even, you are confident to block the attack of those Millennium Snappers. Emofian pulled up a ring and then responded, Yes, what we are worried about is the danger behind. Since you said you can cut down the tree, if you really succeed, we have to thank you. Who knows, we might really be able to unravel this ancient mystery. So why not? Han Fei smiled faintly. But in these red leaves, I need a lot of spiritual energy to support me. When I run out of spiritual energy, you have to help me. No need, just a few spiritual fruits will do. Emofian snorted. Why should I help you? You propose to cut down the tree. If you can't bear it, why should I help you? Han Fei responded, Do you want the sea token? Emofian paused. Will you give it to me? I have the sea token with me. As long as I'm in Sanaa, as long as I stay in the level 3 fishery, I will face your endless pursuit. I am looking for opportunities, not looking for death. Instead, I might as well throw the sea token out and let you fight for it. Wouldn't I be happy? Ha ha ha. Do you think I will believe that? Whether you believe it or not, you will only lose a few spiritual fruit. Among the three of us, I will only give it to you because you are a girl. Those two bastards over there won't give it to me even if they beat me to death. However, I'll have to give you the sea token in front of them. Otherwise, even if you deny it, I won't be able to explain myself and will still be hunted down. Emofian pulled the soft saw and wondered, will Han Fei really give up the sea token? Emofian couldn't help asking, Do you know what the sea token represents? Han Fei sneered. Even a great opportunity is not as important as life. As long as you are alive, you will always encounter opportunities. But if you are dead, what's the use of a great opportunity? However, let me make it clear to you in advance. Although I have given the sea token to you, it doesn't mean I won't take it back. Once I'm strong enough, it's hard to say if the sea medallion will belong to you. Emofian tilted her head and took a deep look at Han Fei. However, she was blocked by the burning red leaf. Emofian giggled. Okay, it's just a transaction of a few spiritual fruits. I can't afford it. But remember, the Emo family is no worse than the Sun family. If you lie to me, I'll kill you. Han Fei said, I don't have to lie to you. If you still dare to stay in the level 3 fishery after taking the sea token, I can promise you that I will come to you again. The corners of Han Fei's mouth were raised. No strong people were idiot. In the face of these people, conspiracies were meaningless. In the face of these people, conspiracies were meaningless. Or, he could use an overt scheme to tell her that it was more effective than bluffing. After a while, Chunja, who was not far away, said, Do you have any spiritual fruits? Give me one. I can't stand it anymore. Chapter 364. Not everyone could resist the calcination of the leaves of the big red trunk. Even Han Fei, who had the indestructible body, couldn't hold on for long in this endless flame. Within 100 seconds, his skin began to crack inch by inch. Even Emofian and the others, with their strength and physique as peak-level dangling fishers and the protection of external objects, found it quite difficult to hold on. For example, on Chunja's side, only cultivators with outstanding talent had managed to survive until now after struggling bitterly. Once their spiritual energy couldn't resist the burning, they began to ask for help on Han Fei's side. The blue sea wandering dragon daggers cut a hole in the flame. Han Fei pointed a finger and a pillar of spiritual energy sunk into Chunja's body. Han Fei said, Hold on with that. Han Fei looked at Emofian. Hey, can you help him? If he dies, our speed will be slower than the other side. Emofian was surprised. Huh, you are also a spirit gatherer? Interesting. I can help him, but why should I help him? You haven't fully exerted your strength. Do you think I don't know? However, Chunja's face changed drastically. If you don't help me, I'll lure the Millennium Snapper down now. Let's die together. However, just as Chunja was about to threaten them, a pitch-black vine had already climbed onto his back at some point. Emofian's red lips moved slightly, and in an instant, 100 black vines instantly entangled Chinj. Chinj looked horrified and his skin was turning black inch by inch. Han Fei's face changed drastically. Are you crazy? What are you doing? Chinj still couldn't understand why this woman wanted to kill him at this time. At this time, he was still useful. An advanced dangling fisher was not weak. If he exerted his full strength, he could even hold on for 100 seconds. Why did she do it now? Emofian smiled coldly. He's useless after all. Since he came here today, he deserves it. Help me. Chinja wanted to catch Han Fei. Entangled by the black vines, his eyes were full of horror. Han Fei was not a bloodthirsty person, nor did he do it out of kindness. He just felt that since he called this person over to help him, it had something to do with him. So Han Fei moved his eyebrows and asked Little White to spit out a red ball. Han Fei stuffed the red ball into Chinja's mouth. I don't know what you'll be like after you become a fish. Will you still be you? However, I can't save you now. It's up to you whether you're willing or not. One didn't even need to think to know how strong a person's desire to live was before death. Chinja used the last of his strength to bite down on the red ball and swallow it. Han Fei ignored it and allowed the burning leaves to block his vision. I didn't expect you to have this fruit. However, rather than turning him into a fish, he might as well die. Han Fei snorted coldly. I don't want to talk to you now, so don't try to poison me with your poisonous ivy. At most, they would just shed all pretense of cordiality. I'd like to see if your protective artifact can withstand my full power. Emofian didn't expect that Han Fei would change so fast. Just for a passerby? Emofian couldn't help but shake her head. I don't have to fight you to the death. However, you are not ruthless enough, so it will be difficult for you to achieve great things. Humph, at this moment, Yangdiu said to her via voice transmission, Emofian, what's going on over there? Why is the power reduced? Emofian responded, the advanced dangling fisher is dead. Now there are only the two of us. Sun Mu shouted, one of you go. In the next moment, in the burning flames, a mass of spiritual energy blasted at them. When the man came leisurely, Han Fei recognized that he was the master under Yang Diu's command. At this moment, this man was red all over and his skin was already showing signs of cracking. However, when this person arrived, without saying anything, he pulled up a ring and began to pull it. Han Fei was quite surprised. These people are so king strong. It had been 100 minutes since the red leaves fell, and his skin had begun to crack. Even one of Yang Diu's subordinates was stronger than him. At this moment, the soft saw had sunk nearly 3 meters into the trunk of the big red trunk. Unfortunately, 100 minutes was too short. Even with the joint efforts of many people, they only managed to cut 3 meters. There was still a long way to go to 50 meters. Han Fei stomped heavily and a spirit-gathering array appeared. Han Fei secretly activated the 10 spirit-absorbing war bodies, and a small amount of spiritual energy was injected into his body, but it was obviously not enough. But Han Fei couldn't show that he had endless spiritual energy in front of Emofian and the man next to him. So he said via voice transmission, I can hold on for another 200 minutes. Give me the spiritual fruit then, huh? Yang Diu's man looked at Han Fei in shock. You can hold on for another 200 minutes? This man was shocked. It was already very painful for him to hold on for 100 minutes in this environment. However, Han Fei casually said that he could hold on for another 200 minutes. How could he not be shocked? Han Fei asked, You're risking your life now. Can't you, a peak-level dangling fisher, hold on? This man was speechless. As you said, I'm a peak-level dangling fisher. I'm 2 small realms higher than you, but the result is the same as yours. How can I accept this? Emofian didn't speak, but her eyes narrowed slightly. In terms of strength alone, Han Fei was indeed on the same level as ordinary peak-level dangling fishers. With this alone, Han Fei was indeed qualified to negotiate with her. After 200 minutes, Han Fei's body had been cracked like a porcelain doll. Yang Diyu's man next to him directly stuffed a spiritual fruit into his mouth. In an instant, the spiritual energy on his body's surface increased greatly, and his cracked skin was recovering quickly. Han Fei looked at Emofian. Spiritual fruit. Emofian flicked her finger and a spiritual fruit flew to Han Fei. Han Fei's eyes flashed. After confirming that the spiritual fruit was fine, he swallowed it. At the same time, the spiritual energy on Han Fei's body surface also increased greatly. Besides, he also cast the divine healing technique on himself, and his cracked skin was recovering quickly. But he was not happy at all. When Emofian gave him the spiritual fruit just now, he saw that Emofian was unscathed and her skin was still smooth and tender. At that time, Han Fei felt that there were 10,000 iron-head fish galloping over his heart. This was the F*King gap, the most primitive gap. The children of big families were really different. No matter whether they had real skills or not, their strength was really not bad. This made Han Fei feel lucky that he didn't fight with them before. Otherwise, if Emofian and Sun Mu joined hands, he would have almost no chance of winning. When the soft saw sank 10 meters into the big red trunk, suddenly, everyone's hands paused and they all looked up. There were more and more squeaks, and they were getting closer and closer. Emofian narrowed her eyes. Not good, the Millennium Snappers are coming down. Han Fei's face changed. Don't be confused by their voices. Yang Diyu scolded, of course. Listen up, even if you're bewitched, remember not to mess around with your hands. You have to pull the saw and cut this damn tree for me. Han Fei didn't want to talk to that idiot. He knew nothing but shouting. The Millennium Snappers had no attack power, but their songs could bewitch people. If it weren't for the fact that there was only one big red trunk here, the result would have been even worse. They could also control spiritual plants. At this moment, the Millennium Snappers seemed to have come down collectively. Han Fei could even hear the sound of leaves being thrown off when they swam. Squeak. Yeah, it seemed that thousands of Millennium Snappers were shouting at the same time, and the burning red leaves were rolling and floating with the sound waves, as if the sound waves had set off undulating ripples in the water. Hearing the fishes cry, the picture in front of Han Fei suddenly changed. He was being chased by the people of the Sun family and the black-robed man on the dragon boat, and Lin Miao Miao in his arms was shot to death by an arrow. At that moment, Han Fei's killing intent soared, his eyes turned red, and he subconsciously wanted to hold the blue sea wandering dragon daggers. But the next moment, his hand seemed to be pulled by someone, which made him shiver and immediately come back to his senses. It turned out that Sun Mu and Yang Diyu were pulling the ring. But the squeak did not stop. The moment Han Fei came back to his senses, the picture in front of him changed again. That was the scene where the black-robed man shot an arrow at him. Facing the siege of 4 people, Han Fei was angry, powerless, guilty, and all kinds of emotions lingered in his heart. At this moment, the hexagon starfish, who hadn't spoken for a long time, said, "The person next to him is crazy." Attach. In this critical situation, the 9-tailed mantis shrimp attached to him in an instant. Next to him, Yang Diyu's subordinate had put down his armor box. In a rage, he opened the armor box and a large number of knives, swords, armor, and shields flew out. Han Fei was next to him, and was the first to be affected. Fortunately, the 9-star chain danced wildly in the air, blocking the opponent's attack. If the opponent was conscious, the battle would definitely not be so simple. But now, the opponent seemed to have lost his mind, and the way he attacked seemed very ordinary. Han Fei suddenly shouted, "Yang Diyu, you son of AB*, your subordinate is crazy." On the opposite side, Yang Diyu immediately responded, "If you can't stop him, go to hell." Swish, swish, swish. Under the effect of the saber manipulation art, the blue sea wandering dragon daggers flew out of Han Fei's body and pierced through the peak-level dangling fissure in an instant. Han Fei cursed back, "I've already killed him. It was not difficult to kill a peak-level dangling fisher who was in a daze and attacked randomly. What was difficult was that as soon as Han Fei shouted, the opponent next door exploded. Rumble, Han Fei and Emofian were directly blown away. Emofian was fine, but Han Fei vomited blood and half of his body was almost blown up. Puff, 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 damn you! Cough, cough. Han Fei didn't expect that a person who had been stabbed by him would explode himself. Wasn't he already bewitched? Why did he explode himself at the last moment? Han Fei knew how terrifying the self-explosion of a peak-level dangling fisher was. At such a close distance, he could only resist it with the help of the indestructible body. If it were someone else, he would have been crippled if not killed. Han Fei cast the divine healing technique on him and heard Yang Diu's voice transmission. Hey! Han Fei, don't play dead. Get up and work. Han Fei scoffed, F***ck off. Did you send someone to self-destruct? Although he said so, Han Fei had already returned to his position. Emofian said, You're completely fine? Han Fei was speechless. How can I be fine? My blood is worthless, isn't it? Didn't you see me vomit 3 mouthfuls of blood? Emofian was suspicious. But you're still fine. Although your aura is a little chaotic and your internal organs are a little injured, you actually took the self-explosion of a peak-level dangling fisher head-on with the strength of an intermediate dangling fisher? Your physique is unbelievably strong. Han Fei scoffed. So what if my physique is strong? I repaired it myself. Emofian giggled. You must have had some kind of opportunity. Otherwise, you shouldn't have such a physique. Just now, fortunately, you stood in front of me. Otherwise, even I would have been injured. Han Fei didn't bother to talk to Emofian. Anyway, he didn't get the opportunity from her family. Han Fei pulled the saw hard and said to the other side, Don't send more people to self-destruct. Let me tell you, you can't kill me. With that said, Han Fei released Little Black and Little White and said to Little Black, Go to the other side and bite the weakest one. Remember, don't bite the one with the big axe and the cold one. Han Fei sneered. Okay. Laugh at me? It's just 2 people missing. It won't affect the overall situation. How many people had died today? Han Fei was sure that if it hadn't been for Sun Mu, Yang Diu, and their group of peak-level dangling fishers, at least more than half of them would have survived today. Because of them, none of the people who should have survived. In the end, they even got themselves killed. But this was good. The fewer people there were, the more advantageous it was for him. The Millennium Snappers were very close, but these fish didn't rush up to attack because they didn't have sharp teeth. Although they had the means to control spiritual plants, they could only constantly control those red leaves to float to the people. But no matter how fiercely the leaves of the big red trunk burned, they were still limited to a certain degree. As long as they could withstand this degree, the number of leaves was only the amount of spiritual energy they consumed. After a moment, Han Fei heard someone on the other side say, There's something in these leaves that bites me. Han Fei cursed, Who the hell is this? Are you insane? Since when does a Millennium Snapper bite? The person on the other side scolded angrily, Han Fei, don't be arrogant. There's indeed something in these red leaves. Sun Mu said, Catch it when it bites you again. Squeak. As the Millennium Snappers kept chanting, the person seemed to be bitten again. First, he let out a blood-curdling scream, and then suddenly there was no sound. Immediately afterward, he heard Yang Diu scolding, Sun Mu, your man is crazy. How dare he slash me with a knife? Han Fei only felt a fierce axe-like chopping from the opposite side to his side. Immediately afterward, with a bang, another explosion sounded. It seemed that the person on the other side had also exploded. And at this time, Little Black had returned to Han Fei's side. Triumphantly, he opened his mouth and swallowed a mouthful of flames. Han Fei praised Little Black wildly. Good job. Eat more. Swallow all these flames. While he was still praising Little Black, Han Fei sneered. Yo! Did you also explode on your side? Great, out of the 30 or 40 people, now only the 4 of us are left. Tell me, how many people have you killed? Sun Mu said coldly, shut up. Han Fei chuckled. Okay, I'll shut up. TSK. Hurry up. Otherwise, another one of you will go crazy later. Don't blame me if everyone dies here. A spiritual fruit could continuously provide spiritual energy. Although some of the spiritual energy dissipated, Han Fei still pretended to hold on for 3 minutes. At this moment, his body was really cracked again. At this moment, the 4 of them had only sawed about 20 meters. Han Fei sighed. Hey! Another spiritual fruit. Mo Fian was suspicious. So soon? Han Fei was speechless. Do you think I am like you? After all, I am still an intermediate dangling fisher. A lot of spiritual energy is dissipating. I have just been seriously injured. How can my spiritual energy not be consumed quickly? Mo Fian didn't doubt him. At this moment they were in a desperate state. Everyone was so busy that they didn't even have time to absorb the spirit fruit. Therefore, the spirit fruit was equivalent to a medicinal pill at this moment. However, unlike elixirs, spiritual fruits could provide a continuous supply of spiritual energy. The spiritual energy in pills couldn't provide such a long-term spiritual energy support. While Han Fei was pulling hard, the hexagon starfish on his shoulder said again, "There are more and more fish. It seems that a big fish has come." Han Fei's expression changed slightly. What does a big fish mean? Just when Han Fei and the others were almost sawing halfway, the leaves suddenly stopped falling, and the burning red leaves no longer attached to Han Fei and the others because they were no longer controlled. Finally, Han Fei vaguely saw Sun Mu and Yang Diu opposite him. The Yang Diu was looking around. What's going on? Is the tree afraid, or is the tree too seriously damaged? Han Fei glanced to the side, only to see a layer of soil rising, and a white figure flashed past. When Mo Fian appeared, she had changed into a set of clothes. Mo Fian's face was black. Put on your clothes, okay? Han Fei looked down. Clothes? What are those? They have long been burned away. Han Fei immediately took out a set of clothes and quickly put them on. Sun Mu and the Yang Diu did the same. Han Fei shouted, "Hurry up, success is at hand. This is a rare opportunity." However, as soon as Han Fei finished speaking, thousands of Millennium Snappers had surrounded this place from all directions. As far as the eye could see, there were fish heads everywhere. If people with trypophobia saw this, they would probably be scared to death. Everyone subconsciously put down their hands. How could they continue sawing now? Obviously, something big was going to happen. The Mo Fian trio immediately gathered together, and even Yang Diu glanced at Han Fei. Han Fei, get the F***ck over here. Han Fei frowned, glanced at the school of fish, and finally chose to go over. He never thought that one day he would really fight side by side with the enemy. Among the dense Millennium Snappers, a giant Millennium Snapper that was more than 10 times the size of the other Millennium Snappers appeared. The big fish didn't seem to sing. It just swam forward. Yang Diu said in a low voice, F***ck, we're doomed. It's all Han Fei's fault. He insisted on sawing the tree. Now the Millennium Snapper has come out. Han Fei's face was black. F***ck off. If we don't saw the tree, this big guy won't come out? Wouldn't he just kill me? Now, it has come out to meet us. Han Fei was talking nonsense, but his eyes were full of shock. The data in his eyes showed. Name Yang Royun, Sea Monster. Introduction, Exotic Millennium Snapper. Within a day, this demon completed the 5 stages of Spirit Awakening, transcending mortality, Spirit Guarding, Awakening, and Demonization. Level 40 Spiritual Energy 66216-621 Demon Vein. Level 7 High Quality, Realm, Demon Transformation, Companion Spirit. Unknown, Unabsorbable. Gulp. Han Fei swallowed hard. When he saw the name, he was stunned. When he read the introduction, His heart was in turmoil. Is that Yang Ruoyun? Han Fei was a little suspicious. He had spent a lot of time with Yang Ruoyun. From the moment he arrived in San Francisco, this woman had always been in the level 3 fishery. At this moment, he was suddenly told that Yang Ruoyun had become a fish. Oh no, a sea demon? This was not the crux of the problem. The key was that he saw the realms of spirit awakening, transcending mortality, spirit guarding, awakening, and demonic transformation that he had never heard of before. He felt as if he had seen a shocking secret. Emofian's face was gloomy. Be careful. I'm afraid this demonic fish is not simple. Sun Mu's face was also extremely gloomy. We underestimated this place. Han Fei glanced at it and saw a dark green jade pendant in Sun Mu's hand. Although he didn't know what it was, it must be something that Sun Mu thought could save his life. Han Fei's face was also gloomy. His attitude towards Yang Ruoyun had never been pleasant. Would she come to take revenge on him? More importantly, did she still recognize him? For a moment, Han Fei didn't know whether he should hope that Yang Ruoyun knew him or not. If he said that he hoped that she knew him, what if Yang Ruoyun came to take revenge on him? If he said that he hoped that she didn't know him, what if Yang Ruoyun killed him at this moment? The Super Millennium Snapper in front of him was emitting a dense red light. Surrounded by countless Millennium Snappers, the red light became more and more intense. Every time the dense red light flickered, countless Millennium Snappers would squeak. However, this time, it should be a pure cry, without arousing anyone's inner demons. When the red light shone brightly, Yang Ruoyun was completely enveloped by the red light, and the four of them didn't dare to move. The point was that there was no place to run here, so they could only wait and see what would happen next. But in the next moment, something unexpected happened. In the red light, a slender white hand stretched out, followed by an arm covered with red muslin. Then, a slender calf walked out of the red light. Gulp! Not only Han Fei, but Emofian and the others also swallowed. They were children of big families in the Thousand-Star City, but the experience of big families was also in the Level 3 fishery. In the Level 3 fishery, he was not as knowledgeable as Han Fei. At this moment, a person seemed to walk out of the red light. No, she had already walked out. When Yang Ruoyun's face emerged from the red light, everyone was stunned. Yang Diyu subconsciously took a step back. Just now, he almost strangled Yang Ruoyun to death, and now he was afraid that Yang Ruoyun would seek revenge on him first. Sun Mu's face was livid and he asked Han Fei via voice transmission, "Who is this woman? She came with you. Don't tell me you don't know." Yang Diyu and Emofian immediately looked at Han Fei and even subconsciously took a few steps away. Han Fei was dumbfounded. Damn it! Who should I ask? I'm not familiar with this woman. I just happened to meet her. Yang Diyu scoffed. Who are you kidding? In the huge Level 3 fishery? The Level 3 fishery, and you happened to run into him? Han Fei glared at him. Nonsense, you just happened to meet her now, didn't you? The moment Yang Ruoyun walked out of the red light had gradually faded. Of all the people present, Han Fei was the most shocked. Others hadn't seen the fish avatar technique, so they didn't know how terrifying it was. But he was clear, and there were countless cases in history to prove it. So far, except for one person who had successfully turned into an iron-head fish, all the others had died in the process of transforming into fish. And this was just transforming into a fish. The ultimate goal of the fish avatar technique was to turn people into fish or human beings at any time. Now he hadn't deduced the fish avatar technique yet, so he didn't dare to practice this combat skill at all. However, right in front of him, Yang Ruoyun had already completed the ultimate goal of the fish avatar technique and could switch between fish and human beings at will. This completely subverted Han Fei's understanding. Emofian said coldly, "It's a sea demon." No, this is not an ordinary sea demon, but a more noble race of sea demons. Don't hide it anymore. Just use whatever means you have, or you will definitely die today. Han Fei asked in surprise, "What is a sea demon?" Emofian took a deep look at Han Fei. "I don't know. It is said that sea demons only exist in the unknown place. We also learned some knowledge about sea demons from ancient books." Unknown place? Han Fei was speechless. Are all the unknown places this kind of monsters? Wait. Didn't Old Bai say that the fish avatar technique is a forbidden technique? What the f***ck? I can transform into a fish whenever I meet someone. Are you telling me this is a forbidden technique? Han Fei and the other three were very nervous. At this time, the sea token? That was not important at all. They had to stay alive to have time to think about opportunities. At this moment, Yang Ruoyun was completely different from the previous Yang Ruoyun. At this moment, she was wearing a graceful red gauze dress, and the skin inside was vaguely visible. Han Fei also found that her hair had turned red and was very long, reaching her calves. At this moment, her hair was moving with the wave. Han Fei couldn't help but ask, "Hey, are you a human or a fish?" Yang Ruoyun slightly turned her head, and a faint smile appeared on her delicate face. "I am now a demon." Han Fei felt his mouth was dry and his scalp was numb. Yang Ruoyun actually responded to him, which meant that she still had memories. In addition, he was surprised that Yang Ruoyun was not transmitting her voice but speaking directly. Yang Diu was a little stunned and asked the other three via voice transmission, What's going on? Has the seal outside been broken?" Sun Mu frowned. "Obviously not." Yang Diu scratched his head. "Damn it, Emofian, why did you ask me to explore the seaborne grassland? Now, this thing has become a demon. How can I fight it?" Emofian didn't speak. What's the point of saying this now? Before, they were all proud and arrogant people. It was rare for them to go out and explore the seaborne grassland. But who would have thought that such a big incident would occur? Yang Ruoyun tilted her head slightly and looked at Han Fei. "After all, I still have to thank you. If it weren't for you, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to come here. I'm afraid I won't be able to find my parents again in this life." Emofian and the other two looked at Han Fei. Han Fei. Yang Ruoyun walked on the waves barefoot and walked dozens of meters forward. A red light flashed between her eyebrows, and 2 Millennium Snappers appeared beside her. These 2 Millennium Snappers were very affectionate to Yang Ruoyun. They squeaked from time to time and swam around Yang Ruoyun. Yang Ruoyun reached out and stroked the 2 Millennium Snappers. Then she raised her eyes and said, "I hate this place and I hate fisheries. The strong use their powerful means to enclose the sea area and let human beings kill each other. What's the difference between this and livestock?" Suddenly, Yang Ruoyun's eyes turned cold. "In this case, I'm going to defy fate. If people don't treat me well, I'll become a demon." Sun Mu said solemnly, "You can be a demon. Why do you have to embarrass us?" The corners of Yang Ruoyun's mouth curled up slightly. Suddenly, she pointed her finger, and the countless Millennium Snappers squeaked at the same time. However, the sound gathered at Yang Ruoyun's fingertips like invisible energy. Hiss, the seawater was split, and a red light spot flew at Yang Diu. Yang Diu's expression changed greatly. His face suddenly turned black, and a huge black scorpion melted into his body. Immediately afterward, the 2 black crystal axes emitted dazzling spiritual energy. Double axes in one to cut huge waves. Han Fei and the others couldn't help but retreat to the side. Han Fei was still surprised. This Yang Diu is very strong. The power of this axe is even stronger than the 5th arrow of my war soul art. It's even comparable to the terrifying power of the 6th arrow. Crack, crack, crack. However, the mystic light slashed out by the giant axes shattered at a speed visible to the naked eye. Within half a minute, the red light fell on the black crystal axes. Gotcha! Yang Diu's spiritual energy protective cover was instantly shattered. Immediately afterward, a jade-colored ring on Yang Diu's hand suddenly shattered, and a blue barrier blocked in front of him. The scene was very tense. Han Fei looked at this scene in shock. After 2 minutes, he thought to himself, did he block it? Crack! Suddenly, Yang Diyu's face changed greatly, and a crack appeared on the blue barrier. Crack! 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 Boom! After a stalemate for several minutes, the blue barrier was broken, and Yang Diyu was blasted away. He smashed heavily against the big red trunk, causing the trunk to tremble. Pooh! Han Fei's eyelids twitched, and he swallowed from time to time as he watched Yang Diyu spit out blood as if it was free. Was Yang Diyu not strong enough? Of course not. Han Fei was confident that ordinary peak-level dangling fishers wouldn't be able to resist the attack of this guy. However, even that level of attack was broken by Yang Ruoyun with a casual flick of her finger. In the end, even his body armor couldn't block this blow. Yang Ruoyun didn't attack again, but looked at them and said, "Today, I won't kill you. But I'll take your memories." When Yang Ruoyun said this, Han Fei was shocked. Can a demon be so powerful? Can it take people's memories directly? The problem is that I still have a plan. My plan failed just like that. At that moment, Han Fei hurriedly retreated. He didn't want to lose his memories inexplicably, so he hid and forged the universe first. But before Han Fei jumped into the leaves, he saw a huge number of red leaves rushing at him. The moment they touched him, they suddenly exploded. Han Fei was furious. "Damn it, Yang Ruoyun, you still owe me a favor." Yang Ruoyun smiled slightly. "I won't kill you because I owe you a favor." Han Fei didn't feel good. Women, especially strange women, must not be trusted. "I worked so hard to bring you here. Do you think it's easy for me?" Han Fei said. "Master Hexagon, hurry up and help me. Let me hide in your treasure gate for a while." However, Han Fei looked at his shoulder. Where was the King Hexagon Starfish? He didn't know when this guy had run away. "Damn you, Hexagon Starfish, you cowardly starfish!" However, in his mind, the voice of the Hexagon Starfish sounded. "This demon is too fierce. I can't beat it. I'm leaving." Han Fei cursed, "Hurry up and open the door for me. If you dare to leave, I will pinch you to death." Master Hexagon Starfish was speechless. "Human, can you be reasonable? Although she is a little demon, she is still a demon. If I open the door in front of her, I will die." Han Fei said, "Then you have to find a way to save me, or I will die too. If I die, you will die too." After saying this, Han Fei's eyes turned cold. He glanced at the Sun Mu trio and then at Yang Ruoyun, his heart wavering. Should I try my best? Chapter 365. Red light spread under the big red trunk, and red threads suddenly emerged from the ground, entangling Sun Mu and the others. Of course, Han Fei was also entangled, but Han Fei had many knives, which were spinning crazily around him. Sun Mu and Mo Fian used some kind of secret method at the same time. Their strength soared sharply. In Han Fei's eyes, the two of them had broken through the realm of dangling fishers. Han Fei cursed, "F***ck, I knew none of them were simple." On the other side, Yang Ruoyun said disdainfully, "If it were elsewhere, this kind of secret method might be useful. But here, I have infinite power. What can you do to me?" Han Fei tried to rush into the leaves again, but Yang Ruoyun seemed to have expected Han Fei's move. She just smiled faintly. "Don't waste your effort. I won't kill you." Han Fei frowned. "Then let me go." Yang Ruoyun ignored Han Fei and suddenly opened her mouth at the Sun Mu trio. Squeak! When Yang Ruoyun opened her mouth, the sound wave rolled up thousands of leaves and whizzed out like a monstrous wave. In front of Han Fei, all the blue sea wandering dragon daggers blocked in front of him. As a result, dozens of daggers were all knocked away by the sound wave. The Sun Mu trio, who bore the brunt of the sound wave, bled from their 7 orifices. Immediately afterward, they were tightly entangled by the red threads emerging from the ground. Sun Mu's eyes were red. "If you kill us, you can't escape either." Suddenly, Yang Ruoyun suddenly grabbed a palm-sized starfish. It was none other than the hexagon starfish. The hexagon starfish was very frightened. Han Fei, help me. Han Fei was speechless. I was waiting for you to save me. Why did you catch me in the blink of an eye? The hexagon starfish's 6 tentacles wriggled and said to Yang Ruoyun, Human, I brought you to this place. You owe me too. Yang Ruoyun pursed her lips and smiled. I know. Then Han Fei saw the Sun Mu trio suddenly tremble and even lost consciousness. The protective jade on them was also useless. Han Fei was also entangled by the red threads at this moment. But his consciousness was clear and he quickly recalled the blue sea wandering dragon daggers. Fortunately, he had learned the broadsword commanding skill, which was a top-notch skill in controlling a saber. Dozens of blue sea wandering dragon daggers were still spinning in the seawater, like dozens of rotating daggers, quickly cutting off the red threads on Han Fei's side. Han Fei was about to rush out of the leaves, but Yang Ruoyun said lightly, If you go in, this starfish will die. Master Hexagon Starfish cried for help in panic. Han Fei, help! Han Fei was stunned for a moment. Mr. Hexagon Starfish really can't do anything right. Han Fei said telepathically, Then don't let those red threads entangle me again. To his surprise, Yang Ruoyun nodded slightly, and the red threads disappeared into the ground. Is this woman really going to let me go? Han Fei looked at Sun Mu and the other two and thought to himself, These 3 are really a grieve. He clearly had a lot of tricks up his sleeves, but in the end, he couldn't use them at all in this damned place. He had become a fish on the chopping board. Did you kill them? Yang Ruoyun shook her head slightly. No, I didn't have to kill them. I just took away their memories of today. Han Fei's eyes flickered. Don't try to take away my memories. Otherwise, no matter how you threaten me, I will find a way to escape. Yang Ruoyun looked at Han Fei lightly. Let's make one last deal, okay? Another deal? Han Fei felt a headache coming on. Deals with this woman are all king traps. Here it comes again. Han Fei was speechless. You have become a winner in life. Why do you still want to trade? Yang Ruoyun said, Help me do 3 things, and this starfish will be returned to you. I won't take your memories and will give you an opportunity. Han Fei's eyelids twitched. May I ask why you always want to make deals with me? I am just an intermediate dangling fisher. You can cooperate with a peak-level dangling fisher, can't you? Yang Ruoyun looked at Han Fei seriously and said, You have the aura of a demon, or rather, you have a demon. In any case, you have an intersection with demons. Han Fei. Han Fei was speechless. Are you kidding me? This is the first time I know there are sea demons. How can I have an intersection with demons? But Yang Ruoyun ignored him and just asked, It's up to you whether you want to make a deal or not. I will only give you 10 seconds to think about it. As you said, you can also find them. At this time, Han Fei had no choice. He could only nod and say, Okay, what are the 3 things? Yang Ruoyun pointed to the big red trunk and said, Don't you want to saw the tree? Continue sawing. Han Fei was taken aback. You've won and you still want me to see the tree? However, Han Fei immediately seemed to understand something. Yang Ruoyun said she hated this place. Did she come here to destroy it this time? That's not right. Yang Ruoyun was very weak before. Obviously, she got an opportunity here. Han Fei frowned. This is a good opportunity. She said, Help me? I can't saw it alone. Yang Ruoyun didn't move but said calmly, Use your mantis shrimp. Han Fei narrowed his eyes. What do you mean? Is she guarding against me? Also, she wants to saw the tree. Could it be that the tree is not only trapping us, but also trapping her? But Han Fei didn't show anything. He summoned the 9-tailed mantis shrimp and let it fight with him on the opposite side. Now less than half of the big red trunk had been sawed, and it would take some time to completely cut it off. So, during this period, Han Fei tentatively asked, Hey, what are you going to do with the 3 of them? Yang Ruoyun didn't hide it and said bluntly, "After the tree is sawed off, the seal will naturally be lifted. At that time, I won't care about them." Han Fei frowned. "Why don't you give the 3 of them to me?" Yang Ruoyun chuckled. "Are you going to kill them?" Han Fei smiled. "Can't I?" Yang Ruoyun shook her head slightly. "They not only have amulet jades but also life tablet. Once they die, their clansmen will know. Do you still want to kill them now?" Han Fei's smile faded. This was the situation after he killed Sun Yi. The middle-aged man from the Thousand-Star City went straight to the Level 2 fishery. If it weren't for Mr. Xiao Zhan and Old Bai, he would have been killed. Motherf ***, so these 3 people can't be killed? Yang Ruoyun said indifferently, "If you want to kill me, then kill me. Just bear the consequences yourself." Han Fei secretly sneered. "Why would I bear the consequences? I can't bear anything." The Level 3 fishery was tens of thousands of kilometers away from the Blue Sea town. If he really attracted the ancestors of these 3 guys, who would come to save him? Old Bai and the others didn't give him any life-saving means. Han Fei rolled his eyes. "I won't kill them. Can't I cripple them?" Yang Ruoyun replied, "It has nothing to do with me. It's up to you." There was no telling what he was thinking. After a long time, he asked, "Are the 2 Millennium Snappers next to you your parents?" Yang Ruoyun replied, "Yes." "Can you tell me your story? Why do you hate it here? Why do you hate the fishery?" Yang Ruoyun's eyes turned cold. "Don't you hate it? Here, people's lives are worthless. Just like the twin brothers who hunted me before, there are thousands of people like them. And those dragon boats will send people to explore dangerous places every day. Do you know how many people have died because of this?" Han Fei shrugged. "This is my first time here. How can I know?" Yang Ruoyun sneered. "Humph, it's not that you don't know. You just enjoy it. You are unscrupulous because you have so many trump cards. Haven't you ever thought about the ordinary fishery, Level 1 fishery, Level 2 fishery, Level 3 fishery, Level 3 fishery? The Level 3 fishery. Why do these damn fisheries exist?" Han Fei snorted. "Why? Nature is magical. Mountains and seas can be formed. Besides, there are billions of creatures in the ocean, and there are countless dangerous places and secret realms. This is a matter of course." However, Yang Ruoyun shouted, "Ridiculous! I didn't expect you to be so stupid. The layout of this fishery is obviously arranged by a peerless master behind the scenes. Its purpose was to select the most outstanding talent. All living beings are just chess pieces, and their lives are in the hands of others." Han Fei smiled faintly. "So, you want to jump out of the chess game? Do you think you can jump out of the chess game when you become a sea demon? If all living beings are chess pieces, aren't sea demons also chess pieces? Since you can become a demon here, how do you know that this is not another means of the so-called master behind the scenes to control the chess pieces?" Chapter 366. Under the Big Red Trunk. Han Fei and the nine-tailed mantis shrimp were sawing the wood back and forth. The nine-tailed mantis shrimp didn't know what it was doing. Anyway, it felt that it was awesome and could do anything. Han Fei pulled the soft saw in his hand and thought quickly. What would happen if he really sawed off the big red trunk? If the seal disappeared, Yang Ruoyun would take countless Millennium Snappers out and they could almost sweep the Level 3 fishery. The Level 3 fishery. Regardless of whether the Millennium Snappers had combat power or not, they could easily overturn the Level 3 fishery. The Level 3 fishery. Of course, Han Fei didn't care about this. The question was, if he helped her, would he really get any benefits? Han Fei couldn't help asking, "You said I would help you do 3 things. What are the other 2 things?" Yang Ruoyun glanced at Han Fei lightly. "Do you know why people who come here will lose the memory of this day?" Han Fei thought for a while and replied, "Probably because they don't want the outside world to know that this big red trunk can turn people into fish, right?" Yang Ruoyun nodded. "You're right, but I don't know if you can understand that memory is a kind of power of time. It really exists, just like spiritual power, but more mysterious than it. Han Fei's eyelids twitched. Memory? Is it a kind of power? Yang Ruoyan shook her head. I don't know much about it. However, this big red trunk has nurtured a wondrous item, and it was formed from this energy. I want that item. Han Fei's eyes flickered. So Yang Ruoyan actually wanted something? That's good. He was afraid that Yang Ruoyan's ultimate goal was to become a fish. Han Fei asked, Where is that thing? Yang Ruoyan thought for a moment and said, It should be under the roots of the tree. Han Fei said with a smile, So, I have to dig out the roots and cut them vertically? Yang Ruoyan nodded. Han Fei thought that the opportunity had come, but he threw away the soft saw in his hand. Do you know how deep the roots of such a big tree are? You may not believe it, but the roots must be at least 100 meters long. Yang Ruoyan nodded again and then pointed to the nine-tailed mantis shrimp. It can dig holes. Han Fei was immediately discouraged and picked up the soft saw again. Wait, even if the nine-tailed mantis shrimp can dig holes, won't the seal outside be automatically unlocked? Yang Ruoyan smiled faintly. I used a secret ancient scroll to seal this tree, so if I don't remove this secret technique, even if this big red trunk breaks, the seal won't disappear. Han Fei couldn't help but recall that when he and Yang Ruoyan first arrived, Yang Ruoyan threw out a scroll full of runes. But could she seal such a big tree just because she said so? Han Fei was doubtful. But in any case, Han Fei couldn't help but be shocked. This woman was really cunning. He had actually planned everything before it all began. Han Fei continued sawing and then asked, What's the third thing? Yang Ruoyan pointed at the big red trunk and said, I want a piece of its tree core. Take it out and give it to me. Han Fei was surprised. So simple? Yang Ruoyan nodded. It's very simple. You and I have nothing more to do with each other. If we meet in the future, and if we are enemies, I will naturally not show mercy. More than an hour later, when the soft saw came out from the other side of the tree, Han Fei immediately breathed a sigh of relief. It's finally broken. Squeak! Suddenly, the Millennium Snappers around began to squeak, as if they were cheering. Then, Han Fei saw a large number of Millennium Snappers swam up. Not long after, the incomparably huge big red trunk began to sway. Under the tree, Han Fei stared blankly at this huge big red trunk slowly tilting to one side and then falling down. This fall was also earth-shattering, setting off billowing waves and red leaves falling all over the sky. However, Han Fei's eyes were wide open at this moment, and he was completely dumbfounded. What he paid attention to was not this big red trunk, but the tree core of this big red trunk. The tree core was not a tree core as Han Fei expected. Around the dark red tree core there were actually hollows, and in those hollows there were spiritual stones inlaid one after another. Wow! F***ck. I'm rich. Not only Han Fei, but even Yang Ruoyan was dumbfounded. She knew that there was a treasure hidden in this big red trunk, but she didn't know that there were so many spiritual stones hidden in this tree. No, to be precise, Yang Ruoyan didn't know what spiritual stones were. However, she was shocked by the majestic spiritual energy contained in the stone. Yang Ruoyan looked at Han Fei. Do you know this thing? Han Fei swallowed and immediately calmed himself down. Instead of answering, he asked, When will these three guys wake up? Yang Ruoyan frowned slightly. Not too late, about 2 hours. Han Fei asked, Can you knock them out for a day, or throw them out first? Hearing Han Fei's words, Yang Ruoyan knew that these things couldn't be seen by these three people, so she nodded, indicating that there was no problem. As Yang Ruoyan squeaked, a group of Millennium Snappers immediately prepared to step forward. Wait a minute. Yang Ruoyan. Han Fei hurriedly ran to the three of them. You have become a sea demon. Are human things useful to you? Yang Ruoyan asked, Do you want their sea-swallowing seashells? Yang Ruoyan felt that she knew Han Fei's characteristics too well. This guy was a guy who treasured treasures as much as his life. Otherwise, he wouldn't have taken such a big risk to come here. Yang Ruoyun didn't stop him and nodded slightly. You can take them. Most of your things are useless to me. Hearing this, Han Fei pretended to be happy. Don't be polite. He immediately went up and searched them. Soon, 3 sea-swallowing seashells were collected by Han Fei. In addition to the sea-swallowing seashells, Yang Diu's black crystal axe, Sun Mu's sword, Emophian's long sword, Emophian's necklace, earrings, bracelets, rings, and jade pendants. Hey! Found them? The corners of Han Fei's mouth rose slightly. Of course, he wanted the sea-swallowing seashells of the 3 of them, but what he wanted most was the spirit-forbidden net. With Yang Ruoyun, a spirit-forbidden rope couldn't give Han Fei a sense of security. But this spirit-forbidden net gave Han Fei some ideas. If Yang Ruoyun didn't let him search just now, then he would immediately give up the deal between the two and temporarily hide in Forge the Universe. Han Fei continued to search. Anyway, as long as there was something on these 3 people, Han Fei took it all. Although Yang Ruoyun had become a sea demon and her temper seemed to be colder, she couldn't help but be speechless at this moment. This B** starred is so shameless. He almost stripped them naked. Han Fei also took the opportunity to take a look. There were a lot of good things in the sea-swallowing seashells. The 3 of them had no less than 20 spiritual fruits in total. Among them, there were nearly 2 cubic meters of spiritual spring, and countless life-saving items such as various pills and flash stones. Haha, you want to catch me? If we were in the level 2 fishery, I would have killed the 3 of you now. Why do you have to waste so much effort? Han Fei was full of harvest and glanced at Yang Ruoyun. You can throw them away. Immediately, a group of Millennium Snappers controlled the red leaves to wrap the 3 of them and swam out. Yang Ruoyun's face was a little ugly. Now can you tell me what these are? Han Fei smiled and said, How do we divide them? Yang Ruoyun said, You first. Han Fei said, These are called spiritual stones, which can be regarded as crystals of spiritual energy. Let me see. Do you see these small and broken ones? They are all low-quality spiritual stones. A low-quality spiritual stone usually contains less than 10,000 points of spiritual energy. These darker and more shiny ones are mid-quality spiritual stones, which contain a little more spiritual energy. As for these high-quality spiritual stones, they contain nearly 10 times more spiritual energy than low-quality spiritual stones. And these, the most precious ultra-quality spiritual stones, I have never seen them before, so I don't know. Of course, Han Fei wouldn't tell Yang Ruoyun the truth about spiritual stones. The low-quality spiritual stones here contained more than 10,000 points of spiritual energy, and the amount of spiritual energy contained in mid-quality spiritual stones was nearly 10 times more than that of low-quality spiritual stones. But Han Fei still said it because Yang Ruoyun was a little far away from him and seemed to be wary of him. Yang Ruoyun's eyes widened. Is there such a thing in the world? She had never heard of it. More importantly, in the part she saw, there was 1 ultra-quality spiritual stone, 3 high-quality spiritual stones, 10 mid-quality spiritual stones, and as many as 32 low-quality spiritual stones. Yang Ruoyun took a breath and said immediately, The ultra-quality and high-quality spiritual stones are mine, and so are the mid-quality spiritual stones. Han Fei was taken aback and his face darkened. Hey, you're too much. You can have them all. What can I take? Yang Ruoyun glanced at Han Fei. You don't have the final say now. Han Fei smiled coldly. Humph, I don't have the final say? Without me, could you have sawed down this tree? If you want the spiritual stones, okay, let's share them. At most, how about splitting it in half? But if you want to keep them all, I won't do it. Yang Ruoyun glanced at Han Fei coldly. Do you think you can escape? Han Fei sneered and pointed to the big red trunk. Look at this tree, it's more than a kilometer high. I just casually cut a cut and there are so many spirit stones. You can take it all if you want, that's not a problem. If you have the ability, take the whole big red trunk with you. Yang Ruoyun was silent for a while. She was very strong now and could use the power of the Millennium Snapper. However, the destructive power was also limited. No matter how strong she was, it was impossible for her to break such a thick tree trunk. Yang Ruoyun pondered for a while. I'll take 70%, you 30%. Han Fei shook his head. No, 50%. I still need to dig treasures for you. What's wrong with half of the spiritual stones? Yang Ruoyun pondered for a while and finally nodded. Okay, then we'll split the spiritual stones in half. But you have to dig out the things in the tree first. Han Fei immediately kicked the nine-tailed mantis shrimp. Come on, dig the ground and dig out the roots for me. Chapter 367. 10 hours later, the nine-tailed mantis shrimp was as tired as a dead shrimp. The root of the tree was too big, and it took him a lot of effort to loosen the soil 100 meters under the tree. Fortunately, Yang Ruoyun was able to borrow the power of the Millennium Snapper, and the Millennium Snapper happened to be able to control spiritual plants, so she was able to tear off the endless roots below and pull them up. Yang Ruoyun looked at Han Fei. Continue sawing. Han Fei secretly instructed, Nine-tailed mantis shrimp, go on strike. Stop sawing and roll on the ground. The nine-tailed mantis shrimp froze for a moment. It seemed that rolling was quite interesting, so it immediately rolled. Han Fei shrugged. Hey, do you have any conscience? How about letting my mantis shrimp take a break? Yang Ruoyun threw the hexagon starfish in her hand out. Let it do it. Han Fei smiled. He didn't know Yang Ruoyun, and Yang Ruoyun naturally didn't know him. If Han Fei were Yang Ruoyun, he would never let Master Hexagon Starfish go. The hexagon starfish was about to fall asleep. Since Han Fei and Yang Ruoyun reached an agreement, it didn't worry anymore. When it saw that the tree was full of spirit stones, its 6 big eyes rolled around. However, it didn't seem to have the ability to swindle spiritual stones from these two, so it didn't speak. At this moment, the hexagon starfish said, I am a starfish. I can't saw it. Yang Ruoyun nodded. You have abundant spiritual energy. You can control it with spiritual energy. Yang Ruoyun glanced at the hexagon starfish and immediately shut up, starting to saw the wood with Han Fei. 3 hours later. Han Fei was so tired that his hands were sore. The big red trunk was too hard. He had to use a spirit tool to saw it for 6 hours before he could barely cut it off from top to bottom. Of course, the harvest was very gratifying. He saw that the core of the tree was inlaid with hundreds of spiritual stones from top to bottom. Han Fei felt his heart pounding. I'm rich. I'm really rich this time. He found no less than 10 pieces of supreme-grade spirit stones. The remaining 10 high-quality spiritual stones, nearly 100 mid-quality spiritual stones, and hundreds of low-quality spiritual stones. The root alone contained no less than 25 million points of spiritual energy. Gulp. Han Fei was about to take out the spiritual stones when Yang Ruoyun suddenly scolded, Don't move. Han Fei's eyes immediately turned cold. Why are you going back on your word? Yang Ruoyun sneered, Do you think I'm you? Although I'm a demon now, I'll still keep my word. Han Fei secretly muttered, You're a man of your word? You're full of drama, okay? Yang Ruoyun stepped on the waves and landed on the tree root in a few steps. She stared at a corner of the tree root. Han Fei's eyes narrowed slightly. Closer, closer. Following Yang Ruoyun's gaze, Han Fei found that at the bottom of the tree core, a crimson book was wrapped in spiritual stones. Book. Han Fei blinked. Are you kidding me? A book grows from the roots of a tree? Could it be that this place was really a heaven-defying method left behind by a powerful being? When Yang Ruoyun saw this book, she couldn't help but float over. Suddenly, Han Fei's eyes glittered. Master Hexagon Starfish, do it. In the blink of an eye, 6 purple lights suddenly appeared, and the six-gate formation was instantly activated, encircling Yang Ruoyun. Above the formation, the spirit forbidden net fell from the sky. Yang Ruoyun's face changed drastically. She didn't expect that Han Fei dared to attack her in this situation. She reacted quickly and crushed a flash stone in an instant. However, to her shock, she hit the six-gate formation and the flash stone couldn't be moved out. Attach. The nine-tailed mantis shrimp immediately launched the nine-star chain, directly locking Yang Ruoyun's hands, feet, neck, and waist. Han Fei grabbed a blue sea wandering dragon dagger and pressed it against Yang Ruoyun's neck through the spirit forbidden net. Hey, tell these Millennium Snappers to behave themselves. Otherwise, I don't mind killing you directly. In fact, Han Fei was just threatening her. If Yang Ruoyun hadn't become a sea demon, if Yang Ruoyun couldn't control these Millennium Snappers, he might have dared to kill her. However, the surrounding Millennium Snappers had already rioted, squeaking and seemed to be launching an attack. Han Fei pressed the tip of the dagger into Yang Ruoyun's neck, and blood flowed. Han Fei grinned. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? If you don't tell them to stop, I will kill you now. It may be very troublesome for me, but you will definitely die. Yang Ruoyun glared at Han Fei angrily and finally squeaked. Immediately, the Millennium Snappers that surrounded them stopped, and Han Fei secretly breathed a sigh of relief. He was afraid that Yang Ruoyun would go crazy and fight with him to the end at the cost of her life. Otherwise, in the face of so many Millennium Snappers, he really didn't know whether he could survive. Yang Ruoyun's eyes were cold. Have you been tempting me? If you don't have the spirit forbidden net, what will you do? Han Fei smiled lightly. Based on my understanding of you, you will definitely give me what the three of them want. You definitely won't let these three insignificant people affect your plan. So I will definitely get the spirit forbidden net. Even if I don't have the spirit forbidden net, I still have the spirit forbidden rope. Yang Ruoyun asked, shouldn't your attention be on the three of them? Why me? Han Fei sneered. In my opinion, you are much more dangerous than them. If it weren't for the subsequent developments that exceeded my expectations and some unforeseen events, the first person I would have captured would have been you. Han Fei glanced at the book in the tree and clicked his tongue. To be honest, I was really shocked when you became a sea demon. I once wondered if turning into a fish was your ultimate goal. Okay. It turns out that there is a book hidden in this tree. Yang Ruoyun seemed to have some resistance to the spirit forbidden net, so she could still speak. She looked at Han Fei with resentment in her eyes. I didn't bully you, and I was going to let you go. Why did you have to trick me? Han Fei laughed. You didn't bully me? You gave me a fake map and said it was a secret realm. That's not bullying me? Seeing that Yang Ruoyun was about to speak, Han Fei immediately interrupted her. Don't brag. Your map is probably fake. I knew it at the time. Even if it is real, it is definitely a rubbish secret realm. Han Fei sneered. How could a place like the Seaborn Prairie not be marked on Old Bai's map? How could it be wrong? However, there was nothing on Old Bai's map. Either the secret realm was too rubbish or it was fake. The person who gave him the fish skin map happened to be Yang Ruoyun, so he was already 80% sure when he got the map. Yang Ruoyun thought quickly. You dare not kill me. Han Fei tilted his head. Why? Yang Ruoyun seemed to have calmed down. She looked at Han Fei calmly. Because once I die, these Millennium Snappers will go crazy. I am their king. Han Fei sneered. Guess if I can dodge it or not. Yang Ruoyun calmly raised 3 fingers. 1. The seal of the Great Red Trunk Forest. 2. The price of my death. 3. Guess whether or not you can kill me. In this place, my life force is not something you can imagine. You know nothing about this place. That's why I'm confident. Han Fei looked at Yang Ruoyun quietly. After a long time, he grinned. You're so nervous. I was just kidding. Give me a reason to let you go. Yang Ruoyun glanced at the book embedded in the vertical pole. Give me the book and I'll go. Han Fei said with a fake smile. Where can you go? What if you come back? Squeak! Yang Ruoyun shouted at the group of Millennium Snappers. The Millennium Snappers circled around and began to sing. In Han Fei's eyes, a dark vortex was gradually pulled open on the upper water. Yang Ruoyun said to Han Fei, I've made full preparations before I come here. After this trip, you don't have to worry about me coming back. The hexagon starfish was shocked. Is this a one-way teleportation array? Yang Ruoyun took a deep look at the hexagon starfish, thinking that this was exactly what she had lost. This 6-gate array was so terrifying that it disrupted all her plans. Yang Ruoyun nodded. Yes, this is a one-way teleportation array that can only be used once. Han Fei thought quickly. Yang Ruoyun was a weird woman. He couldn't predict the consequences of killing her at all. This time, he didn't dare to take the risk. Han Fei curled his lip. Master Hexagon, are you sure she can't come back? The hexagon starfish nodded. Maybe. In my memory, this kind of array is only one way. Han Fei said angrily. What do you mean by probably? Can she come back or not? The hexagon starfish's big eyes kept rolling. According to my inheritance, she can't come back. Han Fei immediately relaxed and tied up Yang Ruoyun with a single spirit forbidden rope in his hand. Although it might not be able to trap her, it was enough to suppress her for a while. He couldn't throw out the entire spirit forbidden net at the same time. Yang Ruoyun suddenly said, Give me the book and the tree core. Han Fei was amused by Yang Ruoyun's shout. You still want the book? Why don't you go to heaven? You can't use that thing. It belongs to the sea demons. Han Fei didn't believe it. If it's a treasure, I can use it. Master Hexagon, don't you think so? The hexagon starfish rolled its big eyes and thought for a long time. That seems to be a divine weapon. Hiss! Han Fei was taken aback. Is this a divine weapon? Why doesn't it show? But Han Fei was overjoyed. Master Hexagon, good job. I like allies like you. I'll find you a girlfriend later. The hexagon starfish. Han Fei stared at Yang Ruoyun and didn't back down at all. Hey, I can't give you the book. And I can't give you the tree core either. You can *CK off, but if you insist, let's play to the end and see who can survive. Yang Ruoyun's face changed. Okay, send me into the teleportation array. Han Fei sneered. You think too much. Let these Millennium Snappers go first. Yang Ruoyun said, Leave 500 and then you throw me in. 100 is my bottom line. Yang Ruoyun asked, How do I know you won't kill me? Do you want me to try? Yang Ruoyun nodded. Okay, leave 100. Chapter 368. Han Fei argued with Yang Ruoyun for a long time. In fact, he was not really bickering but communicating with the hexagon starfish. Han Fei asked, Master Hexagon, can this woman be killed or not? What will happen to the seal after killing her? The hexagon starfish muttered, I don't know. The seal of this forest is very strange. It seems to use this big tree as the eye of the formation. Since the eye of the formation is broken, it should be gone. Han Fei asked, So, can I kill her or not? The hexagon starfish replied, I don't think so. Han Fei was speechless. What do you mean? If you can, then you can. If you can't, then you can't. To be honest, Han Fei felt that Yang Ruoyun was very dangerous, although he knew that the two of them might never meet again after this. But what if? This woman was a sea demon now, and she seemed to be a very high-end species. God knew what would happen to her in the future? The hexagon starfish said to him via voice transmission, I feel that her life seems to be involved with those bad fish outside. She may be seriously injured, but you may not be able to kill her. Okay, I see. Han Fei couldn't help but sigh. Sure enough, this was someone else's territory. She had been covered by the spirit forbidden net, but he still might not be able to kill her. If he couldn't kill any of them, these Millennium Snappers would go crazy and he would be doomed. It was not that he was worried that he would be killed by these Millennium Snappers, but that he needed enough time to digest this big red trunk. With his current Forge the Universe, there was no room for such a big tree. In the end, Han Fei and Yang Ruoyun reached an agreement. Yang Ruoyun would keep 100 Millennium Snappers to protect herself. At this time, when there were only about 1,000 Millennium Snappers left, she had to take away the Spirit Forbidden Net and keep the Spirit Forbidden Rope. Han Fei cared about these details very much. If he was careless and this woman ran away, the result might be two extremes. Han Fei was confident that as long as the Spirit Forbidden Rope could tie up Yang Ruoyun for half a minute, as long as he could gain the upper hand, he was sure that he could take Yang Ruoyun down. After dilly-dallying for about half an hour, tens of thousands of Millennium Snappers swarmed into the one-way teleportation array. When there were only 1,000 Millennium Snappers left, Han Fei swam close to the teleportation array with Yang Ruoyun. At this time, Han Fei withdrew the Spirit Forbidden Net, but the Spirit Forbidden Rope was still tied to Yang Ruoyun. Besides, the Blue Sea Wandering Dragon daggers were pressed against her neck. When there were only 100 Millennium Snappers left, he threw them into the teleportation array together with the Spirit Forbidden Rope. At the moment when Han Fei threw Yang Ruoyun away, the remaining 100 Millennium Snappers quickly chased after her. Han Fei was secretly relieved. There was no change, which was a good result. When the last Millennium Snapper disappeared, the vortex had begun to gradually close, and the place was about to return to peace. Just as Han Fei was about to turn back, a voice suddenly came from the teleportation array. Han Fei, I'll warn you one last time. You'd better leave as soon as possible. The seal won't last more than 12 hours. Once the big red trunk dies, thousands of creatures will devour this place. At the moment when these words echoed, Han Fei turned around and the Blue Sea Wandering Dragon bow appeared in his hand. In an instant, the bow was like a full moon. Cracks reappeared on Han Fei's arm and blood gushed out. Battle Soul Gong the Sixth Arrow, a violent blow of 6,400 points of spiritual energy, shot into the teleportation array that was about to be closed. I can handle it. So what if it lasts for 12 hours? Han Fei rushed down and immediately rushed to the bottom. He took out the roots of the big red trunk, waved his hand, and the spiritual stones trembled and were directly put into his pocket. Expand, expand, expand. Han Fei was talking about the space expansion of Forge the Universe. He had tried it before. The expansion speed of Forge the Universe was not fast, but 12 hours seemed barely enough. Just as the space in Forge the Universe was expanding, Han Fei reached out to grab the red book inlaid in the trunk. However, at the moment when Han Fei picked up this book, a red light shone brightly and the mist shone like an aurora. Han Fei seemed to see one hideous figure after another, roaring, crying, and fighting. Countless figures gathered in the air, and a towering murderous aura rose from the ground. Han Fei hurriedly threw this thing into Forge the Universe, but it was still contaminated by the murderous aura. He couldn't help but want to kill. Puff! Han Fei couldn't help but vomit a mouthful of blood. He was horrified. At this moment, Han Fei spread out his hands, only to find that his hands were already dripping with blood, as if they had been burned by flames. F***CK. What the hell is this? Han Fei was sweating all over. At that moment, he felt he was going crazy and couldn't help but want to kill. Han Fei looked around, looking for the hexagon starfish. But he found that this guy had floated 100 meters away, and 6 big eyes were staring at him. Han Fei was speechless. Master Hexagon, you're too much. You want to abandon me, right? I'm telling you, I'm going to squeeze your blood essence. The hexagon starfish. I'm afraid you will slap me to death. You were so scary just now. Han Fei sneered. We are allies. Why would I slap you? The hexagon starfish scoffed. That sea monster is also your friend. Okay, stop talking nonsense. What kind of divine weapon was that just now? The hexagon starfish said, I really don't know. It feels very powerful, but you can't control it. Han Fei snorted. I can't control it? I'll be able to control it sooner or later. Han Fei thought of the mirror of icy salt in Forge the Universe. That was also a divine weapon, and it was only a low-quality divine weapon. Even so, it was almost heaven-defying and could be said to be one of his ultimate trump card. This book, on the other hand, looked like a complete divine weapon. He didn't even have a chance to open it just now, and his mind was almost affected by it. If he guessed right, this book was much more powerful than the mirror of icy salt. Han Fei's eyes narrowed. This book seemed to be more dangerous than he thought. Just holding it hurt him. It seemed that it might not be easy to use it in the future. Of course, compared with this divine weapon that he couldn't use for the time being, Han Fei got a lot of spiritual stones, which made him laugh unconsciously. Hey, I worked so hard to take down the tree and dig out the spiritual stones. How can you take them away so easily? Han Fei suddenly changed his expression and asked the nine-tailed mantis shrimp to cancel the attachment. Han Fei shouted, "Nine-tailed mantis shrimp, hurry up, cut the wood for me." With only 6 hours, Han Fei raced against time and didn't dare to stay for a moment. 2 hours later, the big red trunk was sawed by Han Fei again for about 500 meters, and Han Fei quickly collected nearly 30 spiritual stones. Among them, there were 3 high-quality spiritual stones, 6 mid-quality spiritual stones, and 19 low-quality spiritual stones, with a total of about 1.7 million points of spiritual energy. Han Fei was taken aback. Damn, the higher I go, the fewer spiritual stones there are. Han Fei glanced at this section of the big red trunk and then at Forge the Universe, only to find that it had a radius of less than 150 meters. He was a little anxious. Han Fei panicked. It would take time for Forge the Universe to expand. Fortunately, his Forge the Universe was different from a sea-swallowing seashell. The sea-swallowing seashell was the volume, while Forge the Universe was the radius. The so-called radius was the area within a specified radius. For example, a radius of 150 meters was the area within a radius of 150 meters with a certain point as the center. In terms of volume, Forge the Universe was much larger than a sea-swallowing seashell. But if he wanted to stuff this big red trunk, it was far from enough. Even if he could control the spatial layout in Forge the Universe at will, it was still not enough. The hexagon starfish was not as fast as the nine-tailed mantis shrimp, and it had already been kicked aside by Han Fei. At this moment, Han Fei shouted, "Master Hexagon Starfish, go and have a look. How tall is this tree?" The hexagon starfish muttered, "I can help you collect it. The space in my door is bigger." Han Fei sneered. "Collect it? If I let you take it, wouldn't you take my spirit stones as well? Do you think I'm stupid?" Han Fei snorted. "I can stuff it myself." The hexagon starfish rolled its big eyes and ran out quickly. After a while, it came back and said meaningfully, "It's nearly 1,500 meters long. I can't even stuff it into my door, let alone a sea-swallowing seashell. Isn't this a bit too long?" Phew! Han Fei immediately breathed a sigh of relief. He was afraid that this big red trunk would be thousands of meters tall. He really couldn't put that thing, and 6 hours was definitely not enough. However, if it was only 1,500 meters, it wouldn't be a big problem. Suddenly, Han Fei felt the ground tremble slightly. Han Fei's face changed slightly. "Master Hexagon Starfish, go outside and set up a sealing array, the one you set up in the land of Starfish. In any case, help me hold it for 2 more hours." The hexagon starfish said, "That's very tiring. Moreover, the grand sealing formation can't stop an endless stream of foreign living beings." Han Fei said angrily, "That's why. I need you to help me." With that said, Han Fei threw out a high-quality spiritual stone and said, "If you can hold it, I'll give you another ultra-quality spiritual stone. If you can't, I'll crush your essence blood in front of you." The hexagon starfish was speechless. Rolling its 6 big eyes, it immediately took the high-quality spiritual stone and left. Han Fei narrowed his eyes slightly, feeling a little scared. Why did Yang Ruoyan tell him that there were still 6 hours left? She must have known that he would be sawing the tree here, so she told him so that he would be prepared. But in fact, this woman's words could never be fully trusted. The reason why she said 12 hours was probably just to make him believe that he still had 12 hours of safety. But in fact, it was very likely that there were no 6 hours at all. Maybe only 6 hours? Han Fei estimated that he still needed at least 2 hours to barely stuff the big red trunk into the trunk, so he asked Master Hexagon Starfish to set up a sealing array. 8 hours later, Han Fei sawed off another 500-meter-long section of the big red trunk. In the Hexagon Starfish's shocked gaze, Han Fei stuffed the 2 huge pieces of wood into the trunk. No. The Hexagon Starfish absolutely didn't believe that it was a sea-swallowing seashell, which was a space larger than the world inside his door. How could Han Fei have such a large space? However, at this moment, Han Fei's face was gloomy. He had heard the sound of the seal cracking several times. He was afraid that it wouldn't last long. The big seal outside had probably been broken. Could Master Hexagon Starfish's seal still hold? Han Fei overestimated Master Hexagon Starfish's arithmetic ability. The last section of the big red trunk was nearly 700 meters long. In other words, this big red trunk was nearly 1,700 meters tall, not 1,500 meters as Master Hexagon Starfish said. F***CK, I must find a math teacher for Master Hexagon Starfish in the future. The expansion speed of Forge the Universe was not satisfactory. So far, it had only expanded to less than 250 meters in radius. Because of the lush branches and leaves of the big red trunk, it could only fit 500 meters of wood at most. Looking at the remaining section of the big red trunk that was nearly 700 meters long, Han Fei asked nervously, Master Hexagon Starfish, can your seal hold? The Hexagon Starfish exclaimed, a large number of creatures have swarmed over. It's a bit difficult. After all, you gave me too little spiritual energy. Han Fei glared at the Hexagon Starfish. I gave you so much spiritual energy. Don't fail. The Hexagon Starfish's big eyes were rolling, and he felt that his tentacles were a little restless. He really wanted to slap Han Fei to death. How much spiritual energy did I give you? How much did you give me? And you even asked me to set up a formation. The Hexagon Starfish said, the big seal formation consumes spiritual energy. You know that. I just gave you 200,000 points of spiritual energy. Han Fei was so angry that he laughed. Why did you give me 200,000 points of spiritual energy? How can you say that? This starfish is getting more and more shameless. Han Fei still vaguely remembered the scene when he extorted 50,000 or 100,000 points of spiritual energy from it. Now, it was this guy's turn to extortion him. Are you saying that if I don't give you an ultra-quality spiritual stone, you'll go on strike? However, Han Fei really had no choice now. He had no one to rely on. In desperation, he threw an ultra-quality spiritual stone over. Hold it. Remember, leave a way for us to escape. We might be able to hold them off, but we might end up being surrounded. Han Fei snorted. Don't think about that. If that's the case, I will still crush your essence blood, and then I can escape with a flash stone. The Hexagon Starfish asked, Human, when can you return my essence blood to me? Han Fei snorted. When I leave the level 3 fishery. I will return your essence blood to you in the level 3 fishery. So, we still have a long time to cooperate. At least a year. The Hexagon Starfish took the ultra-quality spiritual stone. You must keep your word. Han Fei nodded repeatedly. I always keep my word. Hurry up. After sending the Hexagon Starfish away, Han Fei muttered, it seems that compared with Yang Ruoyan, Master Hexagon Starfish is easier to fool. If it were Yang Royun, how could he be sent away with an ultra-quality spiritual stone? She could pack it up and take it all away 1 hour later. The hexagon starfish urged on Han Fei's shoulder, "Are you ready? Hurry up. It's coming." Han Fei scolded, "Don't rush me. Are you urging me? Just hold on for a while, just a little while." At this point, Han Fei's Forge the Universe had expanded to nearly 330 meters in radius and 660 meters in diameter. BM, Han Fei had heard hundreds of similar explosions. Every explosion represented the shattering of a seal. The hexagon starfish shouted, "If we don't hurry up, our escape route will soon be broken." Han Fei said, "Hold on for another 10 minutes. After a while, accompanied by a roar, Han Fei was lying on the tree trunk. Then, after a full 10 minutes, the tree trunk was stuffed into Forge the Universe. At this point, Han Fei finally took the whole big red trunk away. Although the hexagon starfish was surprised where Han Fei's weird space came from, it was obviously not the time to discuss this. The hexagon starfish shouted, "Hurry up, there's only the last layer left." Han Fei jumped on the hexagon starfish. "Run, run." The hexagon starfish roared past like lightning and was hundreds of meters away in the blink of an eye. But just as the man and the starfish ran halfway, the seal suddenly shattered. Han Fei saw a giant snake tens of meters long, a giant crab tens of meters long, and a ferocious big fish with a mouth full of fangs and barbs all over its body. There were mess-swallowing worms, water locusts, dead leaf starfish, butterfly starworms, green-red snakes, and anti-heaven blades. They were so densely packed that they couldn't be counted at all. Han Fei swallowed. God knows where these creatures came from. Along the way, the ordinary big red trunk that Han Fei saw had already been gnawed bare by these creatures. Tracks of big red trunks had been cut off, and no red leaves could be seen on the ground. Yesterday, when Han Fei came in, the sky was full of red leaves and they were drifting around. At this moment, it was barren and barren. Han Fei shouted, "Master Hexagon, speed up, speed up." Han Fei felt that the hexagon starfish under his but was spinning rapidly and suddenly soared to a higher level. "Hey, don't throw me down." The hexagon starfish shouted, "Throw some spiritual energy out. Otherwise, they will soon surround us." Han Fei took out some low-quality spiritual stones from Forge the Universe. Swish, 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 almost every 100 meters, Han Fei would throw out a piece. While throwing, Han Fei asked, "Why did these creatures suddenly appear here? Is it because the big red trunk is gone?" The hexagon starfish was depressed. "I don't know. But that place is special. Even if the tree is gone, there seems to be something else unknown. You didn't go to the top." Han Fei was taken aback. "What's at the top?" Han Fei also wondered, since the top didn't lead to the sea, what would be up there? After thinking for a long time, Han Fei felt that he was worrying too much. Right now, his strength was too weak, and he didn't have the ability to investigate these matters clearly. Why would he bring trouble upon himself? Suddenly Han Fei laughed. Yang Royun probably didn't expect that he could take away such a large big red trunk. No matter who it was, they would think the same as Yang Royun. After all, Han Fei was only an intermediate dangling fisher. After a moment, Han Fei looked back, and the big red trunk forest had been drowned by endless creatures. If he was strong enough, he could stay there and let those creatures kill each other, which would give him a huge amount of spiritual energy. But he couldn't. Based on the current situation over there, if he dared to stay for more than 10 minutes, he would be drowned by the endless creatures until not even his bones were left. The land of starfish. The starfish here were nowhere to be seen. Han Fei guessed that those starfish had also run to the big red trunk forest. It seemed that there were still secrets there, but they had nothing to do with him now. Han Fei jumped off the back of the hexagon starfish. "I'm going to cultivate in seclusion. What about you?" The hexagon starfish looked at Han Fei with his big eyes. Well, I feel that I've consumed a lot of spiritual energy. You, Han Fei glared at him. No way. Don't even think about it. I can set up a large spirit gathering formation for you, and you can absorb the spiritual energy yourself. The hexagon starfish was speechless. Who is the stingiest? They all say that the hexagon starfish is greedy for treasures, but this guy in front of me is greedy for money. Such a large big red trunk and countless spiritual stones. What's wrong with sharing some with me? In any case, I did put in some effort. After setting up the spirit-gathering formation, Han Fei ran 100 kilometers away and entered Forge the Universe to cultivate in seclusion. In fact, he went in to pry out the spiritual stones. In the end, he told the hexagon starfish not to run away. In fact, Han Fei didn't care whether the hexagon starfish ran or not. Anyway, he had countless spiritual stones now, and there were too many things he needed to do. Those things he wanted to do before but didn't have spiritual energy to do, he could do now. Before, his spiritual heritage was damaged and there was no spiritual energy to repair it, but now he had it. With the 4th level of the true spirit fishing art, he hadn't deduced it yet, but now he could. Han Fei said, "If you survive a great disaster, you are bound to have good fortune later." The ancients were right. Chapter 369. In Forge the Universe, Han Fei's body was full of spiritual energy. His forehead was covered in sweat, and his face was pale. At this moment, Han Fei was repairing his damaged spiritual heritage. So far, 2 million points of spiritual energy had been consumed. Only then did he feel that he had mostly recovered. Han Fei couldn't help but be shocked. It seemed that he would have to fight less in the future. Otherwise, with the current grade of the spirit vein, if it was damaged, it would consume a large amount of spirit chi to repair. Half a day later, Han Fei opened his eyes, and a string of data appeared. Owner Han Fei level 36, intermediate dangling fisher, spiritual energy 12526, 452, spiritual heritage, LV high-grade spiritual beast, twin yin-yang spirit swallowing fish, level 29, weapon, blue sea wandering dragon daggers majoring in gong, p water vein technique, volume 3 of void fishing, spirit level, divine quality. Finally, I've returned to the peak. Huh? The upper limit of spiritual energy has increased a bit. Hey, Little Black and Little White are already at level 29? Han Fei was not surprised by the increase of the upper limit of spiritual energy. Again and again. Under such circumstances, if he didn't grow, wouldn't he be no different from a cripple? Little Black and Little White, on the other hand, had reached level 29, which shocked Han Fei. He knew how difficult it was for these two little fellows to level up. If he hadn't been lucky enough to go to the Soul Ocean once, these two little guys might not have even reached level 25. But just because he ate a few red balls, he reached level 29? With a flash between his eyebrows, Han Fei summoned it. However, something unexpected happened. Little Black and Little White did not appear. What happened? Little Black, Little White. He tried several times in a row, but it didn't work at all. This made Han Fei anxious. He immediately came out of Forge the Universe and tried to summon them again, but to no avail. Little Black and Little White seemed to be silent. Is it because of the red ball? Han Fei's expression changed. That thing was definitely not a good thing. If a person became a fish after eating it, what would happen to a fish after eating it? Immediately, Han Fei went to find the hexagon starfish. At this moment, the hexagon starfish was lying in the middle of the spirit-gathering formation, inhaling and exhaling spiritual energy. The spiritual energy all over its body was so dense that it was almost unbelievable. The key was that it was surrounded by a circle of dazzling mysterious crystals. Han Fei recognized at a glance that there were gold, purple gold, diamonds, lapis lazuli, blue corundum. There were also some stones that he couldn't name, but their quality was extraordinary enough to be used to make spiritual weapons. Seeing that Han Fei was here, the hexagon starfish hurriedly put away all the brilliant stones around it. The 6 big eyes looked at Han Fei warily. Human, didn't you go into seclusion? Han Fei didn't have time to care about its treasures at the moment. He quickly asked, Tell me, the red ball on the big red trunk is the thing that can turn people into fish. Haven't you eaten it? What's its effect? The hexagon starfish's eyes froze for a moment, and it asked in confusion. No reaction. It seems like it can help me grow faster. Han Fei narrowed his eyes. That's it? Are there any side effects? The hexagon starfish pondered for a moment. I don't think so. Han Fei was lost for words. If there is, then there is. If there isn't, then there isn't. Haven't you eaten it before? The hexagon starfish rolled its eyes. If you say so, it seems that there is a little bit of side effects. The last time I ate it, I came back and slept for several days. However, I felt very comfortable after sleeping, and my brain has become more flexible. But Han Fei was relieved. So that's how it is. If it just slept for a few days, he would be relieved. Hearing that, Han Fei joked, When did you starfish have brains? The hexagon starfish was unhappy to hear this. That's just an ordinary starfish. I not only have brains, but I also have bones. Han Fei scoffed. Then where is your brain? The hexagon starfish's 6 big eyes kept rolling. In my eyes. Han Fei was speechless. No wonder this guy likes to roll his big eyes. So every time he rolls his eyes, he is using his brain? Han Fei couldn't help but laugh. So this guy is still stupid and pretending to be smart. Now I know that your brain is in your eyes. Then next time you roll your eyes, I will know that you are using your brain. Han Fei waved his hand. Go ahead. I'm going to cultivate. After entering Forge the Universe again, Han Fei was much more relaxed. He guessed that Little Black and Little White must have eaten too many red balls and needed to sleep for a few days. Without the burden, Han Fei was extremely relaxed and even couldn't help laughing. He really wanted to see Yang Ruoyun's expression when she knew the result. You can't take such a big red trunk away? I won't let it go. 3 days later, Han Fei sat in Forge the Universe, panting. At this moment, the size of Forge the Universe had expanded to a radius of 1,000 meters and consumed nearly 15 million points of spiritual energy. However, Han Fei didn't care. A radius of 1,000 meters was enough to stuff a complete big red trunk. For a long time in the future, he wouldn't have to worry about the lack of space anymore. In the past 7 days, Han Fei finally cut open all the big red trunk. Sure enough, as he expected, the part of the big red trunk that really accumulated spiritual stones was concentrated in the lower area, especially the roots. At this time, after all the spiritual stones were cut open, he found a total of 62 ultra-quality spiritual stones, 192 high-quality spiritual stones, 1,026 mid-quality spiritual stones, and 4,102 low-quality spiritual stones. When Han Fei sorted out all the spiritual stones, he stared at the 4 piles of spiritual stones for a long time and couldn't speak for a long time. Han Fei thought that if Yang Ruoyun knew that he had obtained so many spiritual stones, she would definitely regret it. There were more than 270 million points of spiritual energy. Even if he expanded Forge the Universe to a radius of 1,000 meters, he still had 250 million points of spiritual energy left. Han Fei didn't bother to calculate the specific number. Anyway, he knew that for a long time in the future, he wouldn't have to worry about the lack of spiritual energy anymore. After doing this, the first thing Han Fei did was not to deduce the true spirit fishing art, nor to build a ship, but to make a knife. Ever since the last time, when his saber had shattered, he had been unable to use the drawing technique. As a combat skill of the million knife art, the Blue Sea Wandering Dragon daggers had an obvious advantage in the face of group attacks or when the enemy was outnumbered. However, when facing a small number of enemies, the effect of the million knife art began to be greatly reduced. After all, controlling so many knives to attack was far less effective than instantaneous explosive combat skills. At this time, there were 2 black crystal axes in front of Han Fei, which were naturally the spiritual weapons snatched from Yangdiu. Han Fei didn't underestimate these 2 black crystal axes at all. In terms of material alone, they seemed to be made of some kind of extremely hard black crystal. Besides, there was a big scorpion sealed in the axes, and the scorpion venom would burst out when he attacked. Therefore, this pair of axes was actually a pair of high-quality spiritual weapons, which was very rare. At least, except for the water-dividing seal and the mirror of icy salt, Han Fei had no weapons more powerful than these axes. Han Fei remembered that Yang Diu's spiritual beast seemed to be a scorpion. This guy didn't look like a good person at all. Han Fei didn't feel guilty at all for reforging his weapons. A small calabash appeared in Han Fei's hand. A pair of black crystal axes was thrown in, followed by a large piece of big red trunk tree core. This was not enough. Han Fei thought for a while. Quality was more important than quantity, so he simply gritted his teeth and threw Mo Fian's and Sun Mu's swords in. 3 high-quality spiritual weapons, plus the big red trunk tree core. Han Fei even almost wanted to throw the 2 stones in Forge the Universe into it. A red flame origin crystal and a 10,000-year cold crystal. Han Fei didn't dare to touch these 2 stones now. He pondered. If he refined a divine weapon that he couldn't touch, he would be doomed. All the materials would be in vain. Refine. However, this time, the knife in Han Fei's mind was not a long knife. The drawing technique, in the final analysis, was like the art of raising a knife, which could be nourished with spiritual energy or essence blood. But now he didn't lack spiritual energy, so he could use the drawing technique all the time. Such a powerful combat skill could either not be used at all, or it could catch the enemy off guard and slay them with his saber. Although the long knife was fierce, the blade was too long and easy to break. Besides, if he suddenly changed the knife in a battle, it would be very easy to be noticed. So this time, what Han Fei imagined in his mind was a kitchen knife. In fact, Han Fei had long thought of this idea. Compared with a long knife, a short knife like a kitchen knife was very easy to use, and its instantaneous explosive power was more than several times that of a long knife. Of course, the shortcoming of a kitchen knife was also very obvious. It was too short. There was a saying that an inch shorter, an inch more dangerous, an inch longer, an inch more powerful. Han Fei didn't dare to agree. That was for ordinary people. For cultivators, if a kitchen knife suddenly appeared in the middle of a battle, would they be surprised or not? Of course, Han Fei didn't only plan to forge one knife. A kitchen knife was always his trump card, and a long knife had to be put in front of him. After nearly half an hour, a kitchen knife that was 1 foot and 3 inches long, pitch black, with a white blade and teeth on the back floated in the air. A string of data appeared in Han Fei's eyes. Name none introduction, it's made of demon crystal, silver glazed gold, grand white leech iron, 10,000-year big red trunk core, 10,000-year big red trunk bark, dazzling shell. It can cut divine gold and rare iron. Supplemented by a demon spirit, it can be a divine weapon. Quality, ultra-quality spiritual weapon, attached soul, none recastable, unrefined note. It's smelted and recastable from multiple high-quality spiritual weapons. It needs to be attached to a soul to show its perfect form. Gulp. Han Fei smiled foolishly, reached out to take the knife, and looked at it up, down, left and right. Its hilt seemed to be melted with a lot of things, and the blade was mainly made of black crystal, without any impurities. It was simply perfect. Han Fei gently put the blade on his arm, and then with a gentle cut, his skin had been cut open. His blood sank into the blade, and for a moment, the blood was shining brightly. This knife actually swallowed several mouthfuls of his blood before it recognized him as its master. You can drink so much? I'll call you Blood Drinker from now on. Unfortunately, This knife hadn't been attached to a soul and had no spirituality. Otherwise, it would definitely mock Han Fei. What a lousy name. There were at least 8,000 knives called Blood Drinker in this world. What a bumpkin. After a while, Han Fei summoned a kitchen knife in his hand. He raised the knife and looked at the big red trunk, slashed hard, and more than half of the knife blade sank into the trunk. "Haha, this is great." Han Fei played with the kitchen knife and smirked. Suddenly, he thought of Xia Shaochan and couldn't help imagining Xia Shaochan carrying a dagger of this level. If it stabbed him, he wouldn't even have a chance to block it. Just a casual stab would be enough to pierce through him. Alas, no. I have to find the treasures left by Ren Tianfei as soon as possible. Otherwise, I don't know when I can master the indestructible body. Thinking of this, Han Fei pondered. Now that there was enough spiritual energy, he had to find a place to deduce the true spirit fishing art. Only by deducing the true spirit fishing art could he attract Thunderbolt. Only by attracting thunderbolts could he undergo the life or death tempering. Only by experiencing the life or death tempering could he break through the current barrier of the indestructible body refining art. Of course, now Han Fei was still at the bottom of the sea and didn't plan to deduce it. Which thunderbolt could cross a kilometer of the sea and reach the bottom of the sea? Besides, didn't Yang Ruoyun say that in the space inside the seaweed city wall, the bottom of the sea and the surface of the sea were actually not connected to each other? Forget it, let's wait a little longer. After the knife was made, Han Fei didn't rush to deduce it. Since Han Fei wasn't in a hurry to build a boat. Although in Forge the Universe at this moment, the big red trunk occupied most of the area. Han Fei glanced at the fish avatar technique. This time, Yang Ruoyun's successful transformation really shocked him. Han Fei didn't think that in the town under the Thousand-Star City, there might be a person who could really transform into a fish. Even Old Bai was horrified when he heard the fish avatar technique, let alone Yang Ruoyun, who was only a few years older than him. Looking at the deduction cost of 1,000,000 points, Han Fei didn't even blink. Deduce. After a while, the data showed existing combat skills. Fish avatar technique, mystic level, ultra quality, introduction, a semi-finished avatar-type combat skill. Based on the research experience of thousands of years of predecessors, it only has reference value. Deduction cost, 0.50000000 deduction result. Unknown note. The direction of the deduction is unknown. The result of the deduction is unknown. Please be cautious. Han Fei narrowed his eyes. As expected, even with 1,000,000 points of spiritual energy, he could only deduce the fish avatar technique from a mystic level mid-quality to a mystic level ultra-quality. In fact, the content of the message had only changed a few words, and others. The fish avatar technique was a very profound knowledge, and there were a lot of examples for reference. He couldn't just keep deducing. Otherwise, it would be ridiculous if he didn't even know why he was deducing in the end. It took Han Fei 2 full days to finish reading the mysterious level ultra-quality fish transformation technique. His expression was a little strange. There were as many as 9 successful examples in the book. The most amazing person was a mother who actually had a uterus from the womb. He practiced the fish transformation technique. In the end, the mother died, but the fetus was successfully born as a fish. This was the only human being that Han Fei had seen so far who was born as a rare creature. But Han Fei wasn't sure whether the child was a human or not. If it was a human being, then it was born as a fish. But if he was a fish, the book said that the child eventually became an extremely intelligent fish, able to understand human language, and able to receive any instructions from humans. But in the end, the child died in a sea adventure. From then on, there was no second such child. The other experiments were similar. All the sacrifices were just to make up for the shortcomings of the fish avatar technique. On the third day, Han Fei deduced again. This time, Han Fei was overjoyed. The predecessors seemed to have found a way. Fish Avatar Technique, Spirit Level Mid-Quality. Introduction. A semi-finished transformation-type combat skill that successfully transforms a human into a fish. The survival rate is as high as 50%, which is a great progress in the history of transformation. Deduction cost. 10 million deduction result. Unknown note. The direction of the deduction is unknown. The result of the deduction is unknown. Please be careful. Han Fei was overjoyed and immediately entered the state of research. 3 days later, he came back to his senses from the book. The idea of the fish avatar technique this time was too imaginative. Someone proposed that fish also had meridians, flesh and blood, bones, and internal organs. So he guessed that it was not necessary to transform a human being completely, but only needed to mutate the meridians, flesh and blood, bones, and internal organs of a human being. Because of this conjecture, the overall development of the fish avatar technique became the mutation of human beings. The point was that this idea was successful. There was a period of time in history when many people took the initiative to carry out experiments. Of course, this conjecture was still very flawed. There were thousands of creatures in the ocean, not only fish, but also crabs, starfish, conches, lobsters, octopuses, cuttlefish. Billions of species, but human beings could only transform into fish. Besides, the fish that human beings transformed into, to be precise, did not look like fish, but more like monsters that were neither human nor fish. Therefore, some people called this kind of human beings demons or sea demons. Later, because the major floating cities banned the research of the fish avatar technique, the development of the fish avatar technique plummeted. At the same time, the major cities ordered the slaughter of sea demons, which almost led to the extinction of the sea demons. Seeing this, Han Fei was shocked. Sea demons! Gulp. Han Fei vaguely felt that he seemed to have discovered a big secret. Yang Ruoyun was a sea demon, but Yang Ruoyun not only turned into a fish, but also into a human. Ren. Didn't it mean that the fish avatar technique had actually been further developed? Han Fei was shocked. It turned out that the first sea demons were actually human beings? So, theoretically speaking, the so-called demons were actually human beings. The only difference was that under the conditions at that time, those sea demons didn't have the ability to transform back into human beings. This was impossible. After seeing the deduction cost of 10 million, Han Fei gritted his teeth. He had already deduced this far. How could he give up? Immediately, he chose to continue deducing, because there seemed to be a shocking secret hidden here. Deduce. Fish Avatar Technique. Demon Level, Low Quality, Introduction. A semi-finished transformation combat skill that successfully transforms a human into a fish, with a survival rate as high as 80%. Part of human fun. Transform into a demon. Deduction cost. 0. 30 million deduction result. Unknown note, you have reached the current deduction limit of the demon purification pot. Deducing again will involve the mysteries of heaven and earth, and will damage the demon purification pot. Hiss, when Han Fei saw someone fun from human fun. Lai went out and transformed into a demon. He knew that something shocking must have happened. When he saw the note, he was completely stunned. Deduction limit? Deducing again will involve the mysteries of heaven and earth. Damn, isn't the demon purification pot omnipotent? How can it be damaged? I've already deduced to this point, and you're telling me that you can't deduce anymore?